Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was summoned in danmachi. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Azure King and Azure Queen and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter start. I wonder if I can find any clovers for Hinata-chan. A blonde boy at the age of 7 said looking around a small clearing in the forest he was trudging through. For a child his age he was almost 4 feet tall. He wore an extravagant light blue yukata that was hand-me-downs that the owner's daughter wasn't using anymore and tailor it to his body, thankfully it had cool dark green leaf patterns on it. It complement on his very light almost porcelain skin tone that also went well with his sky blue eyes. His spiky hair gave a good resemblance to the sun. He had been searching the area for what seemed like hours, but there were no signs of any clovers he was looking for. Cough. The child heard someone as he looked around to see a blood trail beside his feet. Taking a deep breath he walked as he saw more and quickly deduced it was located behind the tree he used to climb up with his friends. Hello? He asked to hear no response, but a painful cough. Do you need help? Hearing nothing, the child bravely went forward to slowly see a figure as he circled around the tree. It was indeed a woman he had never seen, as she had short black hair with a very long ponytail, and she was covered in nothing but black markings of ink that covered her body and the most intimate parts which was naked. She was naked as the day she was born, with skin more radiant and paler than his own. Of pale golden color eyes that remind Naruto the moon at its brightest, although despite the harsh look she gave the boy her almond-shaped eyes made him blush on how cute it made her. Her raven-colored hair was short and feather style similar to a bird, with 2 short ponytails that also gave her a set of wings that were slightly spiky. Due to her naked body, Naruto could tell she was more stacked than most of the women near the orphanage he lived, although not even coming close to Lady Hinata's mother. But her waist was small and narrow, her legs were long and rather well developed to tell him that she is physically fit. Lastly he gulped as 2 large breasts almost the size of large fruits perhaps melons. Her height was hard to tell, but to compare his legs to hers, she had to be at least 5 or 6 feet give or take half a foot. Her eyes glared deep into the child before hitting the back of her head with a tree, just great a human when all the shit I went through. The boy took a step back at her words before looking at the wounds around her body. Slashes, bruises, and other means of harming were on her body. Hey, are you okay? Does it look like she shook her head as the woman waved the kid to make him leave? Just leave, I want to die in peace. What? No, I can't do that. Naruto panicked as he had the guts to go up to her. I'm not going to let you die. He then reached into his bag that he brought with him and pulled out a few leaves before munching on them and taking out of his mouth too. Slap. The woman screamed comically, her eyes nearly popping out of her head when the boy slathered the odd gross herbs on her open wounds. Hold still, will you? It stings, but it'll heal you up. You brat, that shit stings kaya fuck. The girl screamed yet again with waterfall tears falling down. This hurts more than I was feeling. I said to hold still. He scolded gently as he took more of the herbs to eat, spit, and slather as the girl whimpered at his kind gesture even though it hurts. Why are you even doing this? She mumbles as no matter she said will not stop the boy from saving her. Why not? It's common sense to help others, right? Naruto asked rhetorically. The woman only narrowed her eyes at the boy. No, it's not, she simply said as the tattooed female felt the last of her stinging sensation as it died down. There. That should do it. Naruto sighed in relief. Smack. The boy was sent tumbling to the ground after the girl smacked him away. Ow. What did you do that for? She placed a hand on his throat before squeezing it as the boy's eyes filled with fear as he saw the woman's eyes were empty. Scary, isn't it? That you probably helped to kill her and she can do whatever she wants to you. Leaning down to whisper in his ears and even lightly nip his ear, making him squeal out a small sound of fear. The woman continued to tighten her grip as the boy underneath did something incredible in her eyes. He smiled at her as if he was okay with this outcome. If you are alive then it's okay. The woman's eyes widened at that for biting her lower lip softly. Idiot. The woman let go of his neck as she lay on the ground beside him. To find someone like you near the end, such a fucking way to go. She said before smiling. Well, I might just stay alive to make sure you won't do something like this again. What do you mean? She said as the boy sat next to her. Isn't it the right thing to do? The world is not fair to people, like for example a bitch who took everything I had just to spite me, fucking bitch. She muttered before sitting upwards and looked at the young man. Someone like you. You won't survive if you met her in more ways than one. She paled as the other reasons for death might be pleasurable, but even she wasn't going to cross that line. Oh. Her eyes darted to see a crestfallen boy and sighed. Alright, what's your name, kid? She asked as the blonde looked slightly surprised at the request. Then Naruto Uzumaki, I live. Raising a hand to stop his spiel the woman spoke. Just the name, in exchange for letting your herbs, that hurt like hell, heal me, come here tomorrow. And I'll play with you or whatever kids do. The woman smiled forcefully as it looked unnaturally on her face from all the strenuous twitching it did. Also he heard some bones cracking in the process of that scary smile. Why you will? He said, eyes brightening at the chance for a new friend. Yada. Iwa. She said, although the boy didn't seem to answer her, but his enthusiasm nonetheless made her make a more natural smile. HMPH, well then Uzumaki. She whispered before shaking her head. Okay Naruto, go and eat, the sun is setting down. Looking towards the sky, Naruto indeed realized it was about to become sunset soon. I'll come tomorrow, so. The tattoo woman sighed playfully to let this child stop becoming so damn polite. If it meant she can get some rest, just go. Watching the child go, the woman couldn't help but frown at her mistake. What am I doing? He's going to die soon, as am I. It shouldn't be beneficial to give that kid hope. She sighed as she laid back down on the grass. Then again, fucking hell, the kid saved me, what am I supposed to do? She scratched her hair wildly in frustration. One day, just one day, and I'll off myself. A day in the early morning, the tattoo woman yawns as she took a long nap when she made that promise to herself not to shortly. Miss? Naruto asked as he returned to the clearing that he met with the woman yesterday. I came back, he said, looking for her as he tried to find her. The woman shook her hand to show Naruto she was on one of the tree's branches, up here. She said as the boy smiled at her surprisingly heels-up body, if she can get up there with no help. I got something to eat. Also, I notice you don't wear clothes. He said with a slight blush as she raised an eyebrow. So? My marks conceal the parts I don't want others to see. The marked woman simply said before looking at the boy indeed holding a woven basket. You cook? I have to, it was my turn to make the meals at the orphanage. Naruto explained as the girl leaped down to watch him set up a blanket around her. You live at an orphanage? She asked. No parents at all. Yeah, they were gone when I was young. He trailed off as he took some plates for them to dine with. Lady Haika, Hinata-chan's mother, said that they were famous adventurers. The marked woman just stares before nodding as she saw food she had never eaten before. What is this? Fried rice, sushi, tempura udon soup, chilled chili oil, and other stuff that kitchen was going to throw out. He said, showing the meals, which looked professionally done. The woman could swear that she saw the very food sparkle. However, he noticed her discouraged look. Is something wrong? I never eaten this, the woman said, awkwardly holding sushi, sniffing it as her head recoiled. That fish. Raw fish and rice is what makes sushi, Naruto nodded. Go ahead, try it. Sure, she said, tossing it behind her. You got any meat? And no fish is for women, and yes, I am one, so shut up. Like what? The babs, I would fucking marry one. She said, salivating a lot at the idea of a tasty treat. I think I got some meat and veggies we can cook. Hold up. He said, before looking into the basket. Odd, if you were older we'd be running it now, she smiled sultry only to fathom. Great, she just hit on the kid who probably would run away from her disgusting ways. You said something. Nothing, she groaned. Sometimes I hate myself, she grumbled in her thoughts. Cough. Her head snapped to watch Naruto wipe his hand the ground, leaving a red mark. She looked saddened before speaking. What's tempura? She said, moving to where he was and pulled his hand away from the basket. No need to let this food you made go to waste. It's food dipped in batter and deep fried. Naruto answered. Deep fry? The tattooed woman said with some markings gaining a question sign here and there on her body. And what is udon? The type of noodle, it's kinda wide, and the woman and Naruto spent hours continuing on his food, both eating and explaining his ways on making it. As soon as the last plate was licked clean, well, each one was by the woman, she lay on the ground with large stomach from her ravenous appetite. That was good, perfect way to die, she smiled in bliss for the rare times in her life as she saw the boy smiling at her face. What? The woman questioned with a light chuckle when saying it. You just smiled. Naruto grinned. Oh yeah, last time I smile is when my kid brother told me he was gonna get laid. She grinned widely before snorting as she sent a middle finger to the sky. Hope you see this, bro. Oh, he's alive, I hope. She waved off before looking straight ahead with a wide-eye look, unsure of herself. I see. Naruto nodded. Still, I think you're pretty with that smile. Thanks, you're not bad. For a human. She mutters as the child didn't seem to question her. Go to a doctor, the woman suddenly tells him. First thing tomorrow, find someone to heal you. You were coughing blood. She said. Don't want you dying. She assumed that boy would. I am. Turning her, she saw Naruto smiling. What? In all her life she never heard such a flippant response to her before. You just need a potion, hell, someone with healing magic could. Lady Haika told me that my blood is killing me, so I only have a short life. The blonde boy said simply before handing her a cookie. Here, sweets make me feel better. Kid, I'm totally fine with it. Naruto smiled widely. Besides, we all have one life, so gotta make the most of it. Why aren't upset? You got 2 weeks left and you're okay with this, she said, tossing the cookie to the ground. Shit, be a baby. Cry on how unfair it is, something normal. How can you be okay with this? I never seen someone not care about anything like this. Naruto pouted at the angry woman's speech, I care not about me, but everyone that will be gone. I'll miss them, but if it means I'll be less of a burden to them then it will be fine. Do you even realize what you're saying? I do. She stood up and grabbed his shoulders, no, you I never seen such a pure she trailed off before chuckling herself. Here getting on one knee she smiled, I will cast a spell. It will fix your bad blood. Naruto's eyes widened as he looked slightly hopeful, you promise? A nod was all she given before her markings moved as if they were alive crawling on her skin as she touched Naruto's forehead with her own, it might feel bad, but it's okay. She assured before closing her eyes muttering words of some unknown origin before the tattoos glowed as Naruto's body started to produce his own markings. TSS. She calmed touched his hand with her own, it's okay, it's okay. She whispered to make him still as the markings were now slowly spreading every part of his body. They're done before letting his eyes open she touched the markings as they faded back into his skin as if they were never there. Alright head home and ask for a checkup. Okay. Watching him leave the woman sighed, okay one more day, then I'll kill myself. She declared she wouldn't die if it would such a bitter taste in her mouth. 3 months later so you take that line and connect it there, the tattooed woman said guiding Naruto's hand to create an odd symbol, and done, you my small friend made a seal. Wow, that looks what kind of seal is it? Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Basic adventuring storage seal. The woman explains before pulling him on top of her and holding him close to her body, since you might be leaving here and all. The boy just looked at the sky as he felt the body heat of the woman he has known for a while on his back, I want to be a hero. No, heroes aren't real. It's a lie people tell to prevent the real truth of war. The woman said moving her to see her child friend's face. And those gods, or bitch and swear she nodded as she knew her bad habit wasn't something the boy liked. Sorry, in particular I hate. But I don't think you're bad. I am, but at least I'm honest about it. She said before gently rolling Naruto off her, hey, why not be a guard for that orphanage you live in? That's better than being a good-for-nothing adventurer. She shook his shoulder in an attempt to get him pumped up for it. You know the people and you like them hopefully. Naruto smirked at her last word, knowing that she has pre-hatred for most people, I do. Smiling at his answer made the woman gave one in return, see? Better already. Yeah, the child just smiled before nodding slightly, but there's no excitement in staying in the same place forever. Well, that's why I'm teaching new things. The woman stated before standing up and also helping Naruto up, so, ready for your next lesson? Yeah, first magic she said holding out her hand, her eyes narrow as the seals around her arm glow making a black flame appear in her hand. First is Dark Fira, an advanced fire spell that most specialized mages have to gain. But with your skills and my awesomeness, you can do this now. Like usual. Naruto said with slight frown as the woman nodded sternly. Yes she stated with an edge in her tone, focus your negativity here. She moved her thumb on her free hand to point at her chest. Alright he said as he stared hard at her chest as he held his hand out. He concentrated, focusing all of his energy, until all of a sudden, a black flame started to form from his hand. Use your hate, anger, sadness as a stepping stone. It doesn't rule you, you rule it. She explained before gesturing the flame at its length and shifted into a sword, now twist those awful emotions into what you want. With a loud grunt, Naruto shifted the black fire into a weapon he thought would be suitable for him. Maybe something that will make her smile. Before he can do so, he felt a rough hand twisting his wrist, stop. The woman stated as she gave a disappointed look, negative emotions only. Naruto frowned as the woman let go his wrist and concentrated again. Hate me she said before she took a deep breath. Slap. The boy nearly cried as he felt his friend slap him, before another hand went for the other cheek, stop. That angry, don't feel anything, but contempt for me. Why are you? I said to hate me. Put every ounce of hatred and anger into your very being. She said lifting her hand, but stopped when Naruto fell back in fear as she quivered before the woman. Naruto's teacher looked at the offending limb and clutched it, I'm sorry. She said reaching to him as he flinched from her touch, making the woman heart filled with pain. You have to understand, darkness needs to feed on darkness. You have to have an intense emotion of hate, sadness, or something along those lines to use this, don't and the power feeds on you. Mir she said before hugging the boy, close to her. I would never harm you again I promise, the woman declared as she felt tears flooding down on her face from her own sins. Naruto couldn't help but wrap his arms and sobs into her grasp, I'm sorry for being a failure. The woman couldn't help but make a chuckle despite their crying moment, I should be saying that. She admitted as the two stay like that until they finally stop their crying. You good? Yes Naruto mumbled with a nod. Okay. I think that's enough for one day, don't you think? Naruto nodded before looking down, before I go I made you something. What is it? Moving to the basket that held their lunch, he pulled out a few red wrappings, you said you hate clothing, but maybe this can be good. You're giving this to me? Yeah. I think it'll look good on ya. Go on, try it. The woman sighed before undoing the wraps and tightly bound her breasts, then wraps them around her waist as a makeshift skirt. Well? He inquired. It's not bad, I suppose. She commented, using the rest as she knotted them into a scarf before wrapping it around her throat. Bit good, but would be better if I had some exoticness in it. But she smiled as she took off her scarf and wrap around Naruto's shoulders. Red suits you more. You sure? Of course, she patted the child's head kindly as she took a sit back down. She stared at the kid who plays with the cloth as the woman spoke. Hey kid. Yes. The blonde turned as the scarf covered his face. Listen up cause I'm going to say this just once, the red-cloaked woman states as Naruto stared at her with a nod. My name is Anri, the woman sighed in boredom. The child left like always and things were boring without him to cheer her up. How long since I came here? She wondered, unable to keep track as she didn't have a way to mark her days. Still it was Kindefin if it meant being pampered by this child. His life no longer in danger as she sent some of her remaining life force into him. Enough to overcome the blood illness but nothing else to mess with his frail body. When he has choice to be an adventurer, she tried desperately to derail it, knowing that it will corrupt him like many others or he'll be a toy for certain people to use. Steadily she trains him to use powers she had mastered and learned to hopefully aid him while she tried to dissuade. To which she has not. Oh well, the problem was that she keeps delaying the inevitable one more day. If she could just hold out for that one day, then everything will end. Although she has been saying that for too long, the question is, will she? Someone wanted to adopt you. Anri said as Naruto took out some kebabs. Thanks kid, you're officially the only human I will ever fucking love. Patting his head while biting a bell pepper and steak pieces into her mouth. Naruto only rolled his eyes as he began to eat his own. Some weird red-eyed guy came in and asked for me personally, asking me if I wanted a father. Red-eyed guy? Anri asked, suddenly interested. Only a few people had that eye color and those were in many guilds. Then again, it's been decades since she visited a city before the betrayal. What else did they look like? His left arm is bandaged so much it looks like a club. Naruto said, passing her some hummus. He lifted as she dipped a small piece of steak into it. What? Anri raised an eyebrow. So you reject him? Of course, we stay here. He said, a bright smile as he went to get some chips for the dip. I thought you'd go the first chance you got. The boy looked downwards as he muttered out, you was all she heard. Huh? What's that kid? Anri cupped her ear. Didn't hear that last part. Not if it means leaving you. He turned an even brighter shade of red. The marked woman gave a similar blush before Naruto moved closer to her side as he turned his head to look at her. I don't want to leave you. He moved his hand to hers and grasped it tightly. Is that okay? Anri was silent for a moment. Naruto really wanted to stay with her. These past several weeks of knowing the kid, since he healed her, she's taken to liking to him. The more time she spent with him, the less annoying he was. Are you really sure you want to stay with me? She asked, gripping back hard, noticing how soft and warm his hand compared to hers. Her hands were rough and dry, which is not surprising given to what she has done, but Naruto's felt like flower petals, something that was once like hers. Someone like me? Yeah, until the day I die, Naruto nodded furiously, surprising Anri. Close your eyes, the woman said, unable to meet Naruto's eyes, preparing herself for what she will do. What are you doing? Just do it. Naruto did so, feeling two pair of hands on his shoulders and felt two soft things on his own lips as he felt his body and face burning hot on the implications of it. He almost lets out a whimper when the object left his lips. Open them. Naruto slowly opened his eyes. What did you do? The woman took Naruto's scarf to wrap around her face, covering her cheeks that started to burn with embarrassment. A blessing, but had to make direct contact for you. I thank you. What kind of blessing? He asked as the woman chuckled before poking his head. Wouldn't be much of a gift if you don't work hard for it. She said before sniffing something. Dude, did you bring smoked meat? Cause if you do, drop those. The orphanage. She gave a deadpan stare at his answer. Actually, I was going to say pants, but what? The orphanage. It's on fire. Naruto panicked as he got up to run towards it. I have to save Hinata-chan. Hey kid. Anri cried out. Shit. She cursed before following him. Shai-chan, set more fire spells to make Naruto-kun see the smoke. A tall, lean young man with snowy white hair and lilac-colored eyes standing in front of a fiery large building that prevented him from getting the boy he sought for years. His bangs went past his face and cover his right side of his face. He possessed an athletic body with defined muscles and toned abs that was evident even through his clothes. The handsome man wore a blue sleeveless fitted shirt and pants with a white sash that wrapped around his waist and flare out like a half skirt. The sash would slung across his chest and cover his entire left arm in a form of cast. Soon a masked person stood beside the teen. The person dressed a skin-tight outfit that show off her large D-cup breasts to clearly show her gender. 2-kun, prepare to learn with Shai-chan and prepare my ritual for Naruto-kun. Another masked person, this time a male due to the body type it had underneath black skin tight suit it wore before nodding to the order. And the two vanished in trails of lightning and water. No. The man's face brightens as if a child got his favorite toy from him. Go. Go, go, he's here. He waved his arms in childish manner. Hinata-chan. Sasuke team, Shikamaru-kun. Where are you? Naruto shouted as he came into the orphanage while the building was still aflame. Chouji. Sakura-chan. Bushy brow. Welcome, Naruto-kun. The boy watched as he watched the man who came earlier to adopt him. Hey there kiddo. He waved happily with his bound arm, greeting Naruto as if he was kid brother. Thomas why did me home? The blonde cried out as the man nodded eagerly. That's right. Isn't it great he asked jovially. No more pesky kids to deal with. You killed them. Oh don't be like that, kid. They were weak. Not long for this world. Besides, who needs them right? You're much more than what they could ever achieve that's what's most important. He said before gesturing his hand, the one not in cast, to Naruto. So come with me. No. Never. He shouted. Not after what you did. The white-haired man looked generally shocked. Why, is it the mansion? Should it be more on fire? Kun, more fire. Maybe it because you killed my friends, Naruto shouted as the man chuckled. Thomas just shook his slowly, but not in a condescending way, but a way to gently dismiss the boy's words. Naruto, Naruto weren't your friends. Friendship is only when two strong people accept each other. He said kindly telling Naruto like a father to his son. Well you're not my friend. You're a monster. The man scratched the back of his head, listen you will come so 13 totems. The boy watched as 9 large stone totems surrounded him, watching the man coming forward, unlike me, you haven't experienced true battles, surrounded him so do not worry, you will learn even if I have to make you. Slash, the white-haired man jumped backwards when he dodged a slash. Otto too close. You stay away from him, you bastard. Anri shouted, getting in front of Naruto to protect her. Anri. He saw the girl holding a bone-like weapon in her hands, it looks like a refusal sword, with one side sharpened dangerously, while the other was serrated like it was made from a human spine for the main blade. You the white-haired man said with his smile vanishing quickly as he saw the tattoo woman. He looked at Naruto giving his hand once more, Naruto, come. That woman is using you. Don't listen to that idiot. Anri said moving forward so Naruto wouldn't be near the fighting and can prevent the man from reaching him. He's the one that's going to use you. What's going on? Naruto asked confused. That bitch is a goddess. The man declared with a powerful glare at her, Anri isn't her real name, it's. The woman's eyes widened before pulling her arm above his head and shot it out, making the blade suddenly detached into a whip as the man used his casted arm to wrap it around him. Her name is. Anri screamed out as fear began to show in her eyes. Don't. The goddess of duality, of chaos and order. The goddess who fled from heaven, Ahriman, otherwise known. The woman dashed forward hoping to silence the man as he smirked. Die. She screamed out as the blade retracted making her fly towards the man, however. Naruto saw his cast arm suddenly shifting as if it was alive. Anri. Stop, he has something he said as the white-haired man, in less than a second was standing above a wounded and downed Anri. Remind you he said as his cast was covered in the woman's blood, he turned to Naruto smiling, despite the red liquid covering his face. Look Naruto what humans are capable when gods and goddess are out of the equation. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the man raised his cast arm and then the woman he cared for clutching her stomach as a red puddle forming under her. Something inside him snapped as black flames dance around his hands, new. Clutching an unseen object the flames gather as they created a fire-based blade, whipping it like Henry did. It flew straight and true as it sliced the arm off the man as he looked back with a huge smile. Yes. He shouted in pure pride and joy in his tone. This is what I was waiting for. After all this time, you have finally awakened. He frowned as he saw no one around him. Oh dear that bitch took my last member of my collection he sighed before looking at his dismembered arm. HMPH, get stronger Naruto-kun and you will return to your true family. I needed to upgrade anyway. Nearby their usual spot was Naruto carrying a bleeding Anri doing his best to hold back his tears. It's okay Anri the nearest healer is a few miles away, I'll stop the bleeding. No don't Anri muttered. It's fine, I can't hold anymore she whispered, put me down I need to tell you something. Please I don't want to pass on without explaining myself. Oh okay Naruto said, before gently laying her down on the ground. He'd listen close cause I ain't repeating myself Anri said, before coughing a bit of blood. My name is mind you, but I am not using you. I hate humans, when all the other gods became friends with them, I avoided them, as they were sinful beings. I felt all their mistakes, sins, and acts of evil every day. She muttered as a soft smile came into her face, I only trusted my own kind, unable to sense their flaws. That was my mistake, a friend I made a long, the last word was spoken with a slight humorous tone, before it became soft, betray me, she believed if I ever took a familia I would ruin her own. Taking the word backstab to its very meaning, I ran and ran hurt beyond any physical wound could ever do to me. Henry the young man's eyes became misty hearing such a story. I was prepared to die, to bite my own tongue or summon my sword to cut open my stomach to run away from this world. But then you came along. The woman reminded Naruto as she smiled softly at him, caressing his cheek, I felt no darkness in you, how could something so pure be in this lonely dark world? She asked not caring if Naruto answered or not, so I wanted to protect that innocence and that's my sin. What do you mean? Naruto asks, as he could not see what she saw that he had a black aura around his body instead of his usual gentle white. I dirtied you by letting you taste power and others wanted you. That man made you hate him, I can see it clear as day. Angra stated as she placed her hand on her chest, Naruto when I met you, I felt your time coming as the goddess of darkness. I can tell when death is coming. I've been delaying it, hoping to do it forever, but no longer. Naruto what I will give you may send you to the depths of madness. However, if you can master the horrors of this, perhaps your dream will come true. The blonde's eyes widen as the woman touched his chest, I was hoping to use this later on, if your condition worsens or you leaving. Sadly we do not have the time to consider options, child of the mortals. Soon her body tattoos all became more sinister looking now crawling in every part of her body, even on the red cloth that covered what little modesty it could hide. I, who rule over darkness and chaos, order and balance, my twin whom they bestowed on me when he passed. I shall entrust to you, for you shall live in the pain of humanity's sins, forgive my curse and relish in hope, as you shall gain power for carrying their sins on your body. She chanted as Naruto felt his markings around his burn, he saw the ones on his arms starting to produce steam. The goddess continued as she felt pain coming from her heart. The rules are going to kill her for making this taboo in all seriousness this was kin to the biggest fuck you to that bitch. If she thought that Angra Mainyu was going down with a whimper well hell no. Well she had the sadness of forcing her duties to Naruto, he will avenge her. Like that story he read to her often, the Avenger of Shadows. By the words given by darkness, Angra Mainyu, and by the words by the one who bestowed order to me, Spenta Mainyu, you are hereby the new god of darkness and chaos, and the one who watches over creation and order. This is at her last moment to say anything to Naruto instead all she did was pull him to her body. I'll miss you. Naruto could looked at the woman, in all their time watching a serene look on her face how could he stop her? All he could do was make her rest in peace and above the heavens. I will get that bastard and that bitch he darkly mutters, as the woman couldn't help but smile. That's my human she gave a snide smirk before golden glowing hit the two of them, sorry, but I won't be heading up there just yet. Angra Mainyu raised her middle finger as her body started to slowly vanish as the seal was created. And you can't touch him since you targeted me. Hear this, Angra Mainyu has chosen her avatar, her appraiser, or whatever you call it, until he avenges me and fulfill his duties to his own goals. You will not harm him as this is not against the rules if he takes over my powers. But that said the woman golden glowing suddenly halted while she lowered her head, fucking always wanted to do that. Naruto shake in her arms as she chuckled one last time, Naruto you're going to face hardships, both by the gods and goddesses of this world and your kind. But she really didn't want to say these mushy words, but she had to, reach your goal on being a hero, avenge for yourself, not for me and most of all, she pushed him away, just to her face a simple yet beautiful smile on her face that wasn't filled with some kind of negative emotion. But love for him, have a wonderful live and have people you love and care for be with you. Don't make the same mistake I did then she faded from his grasp, the boy desperately tried to grab any of her fading existence only to fail. He looked up to see the same facial expression on her lips as if waiting for something, wiping his eyes of any tears he smiled back, weakly and new tears flooding down. I will. He promised before she completely vanished. He looked down and saw two odd-looking blades they were jagged and completely appalling for any kind of actual use. Walking towards them, the child picks them up astonished by the weight they carried before lugging them towards his next duty. Getting stronger 9 years later Graves stood beside a large tree as footsteps crushing the grass nearby was heard, hello Henry. A young man at the age of 16 wearing a tattered red jacket that covered his arms and back leaving his chest and stomach exposed as it matches the red tattered shorts with bandages that were dyed in his blood around his waist. He also wore black wrappings around his arms and legs that also show that his feet were barefoot. Naruto's skin was a healthy tan which was understandable given his active outside training, allowing him to gain it. His hair was spiky showing his golden color that made him look his hair shine like the sun. Lastly his whole body was covered in religious black markings which barely left any part of his body that wasn't clad in it. Sorry I wasn't around, Naruto started off with before sitting down, but I got some good news, I found some kids, or rather they're now adults like me. The blonde chuckled before lifting his arm, and thanks to your powers, thanks again Henry. As the graves stood there in silence, Naruto's smile didn't fade. But you know we still have lots more to tell you. Play Blood Sea ending. Throughout 9 whole days, Naruto spent all the time telling what has happened to him since his last visit. Ignoring the blazing sun, freezing rain, the times when nights nearly made him fall asleep. Pushing onwards, as he had a serene look on his face, and now, they begged me not to go on my quest for vengeance. But I can't, otherwise who knows if that man would come back to attack us. The teen stood tall as he took out some red cloth and wrapped around his head as the markings on his face faded until only 3 whisker marks on each cheek were left. Then again, I might be selfish on doing this myself, who knows at this point. Naruto turns his back as he started to walk, get busy living or get busy dying, right? With that he looked to the sky and began to run. His story was finally going to start here and now, whether it would be good or not will be all on his choices. Goodbye Anrang, remind you, he whispered as the blonde headed to his first task, finding that silver hair monster in human skin. Chapter end. Chapter start. In a dark cave, dozens of monsters were soon dying one by one as a black blur went by each one and beheaded them with ease. They just keep coming all at once. The person said as he lifted his head to show it was Naruto, wearing a black robe over his body. I haven't gotten a chance to rest since I've got here. He sighed to himself. Geez, and here I thought it would be easy. It always never is. Crack. The young man looked at his oddly made blades and tucked them on his back. They're breaking down, I can't keep this up. He announced as the young man saw more monsters than before. I gotta retreat. The Avenger quickly rushed out as he focuses on his path when entering the dungeon. Damn, my head is getting foggy. He complained, as no matter how hard he tried the memories won't come to him. Damn it Anri, of all the things you have forgotten to teach me why it had to be remembering where I went. He cried out, having a perfect image of Anri sticking out her tongue cutely with a sign that said whoopsies. The young man blushed at his mind thinking about her, before shaking his head to get his mind off of her. Gah, whatever. I hate being older and having these weird ideas on my Anri. He said, before continuing on his way. Why did I have to be Chaz today? Right, Naruto shouted before realizing it. He just responded to wham. An hour ago, a young woman with long pink hair and eyes of the same color. Wearing a red and pink top, a red skirt, and red and pink socks under her reddish pink boots. I think I got lost. Sigh again, she cried softly, as always happens when she ventures alone. Then again, this the 9th time she came here. It has to be 10 times before she can return without any help. Of all times, why does fate have to be cruel to her? It's not fair. She didn't deserve this. Ah, I found you. The girl turned her head to see a very pale-looking individual walking towards her, wearing a black robe with red triangles at the sleeves and bottom of the clothing. You are Emma, correct? The girl took a step back, immediately reaching for her twin swords on her back. Yes, and you are. The man shrugged as he gave a very single wide eye and dark grin. No one, but I implore you to come with me. Why? The girl named Emma stuttered as her body started trembling in fear. This couldn't get any worse, can it? And move right. He deduced, as his prey couldn't move despite holding onto her weapon. Better than I gave you credit, he will have no problem giving you a gift when you arrive. Gift? Emma managed to say. What would that be? If you want to know, then come with me, the man said. You want to live, right? Ideas on my Anri. The hell was that? The pale man said before realizing he lost focus. Damn, don't he started until the pink-clad woman dashed away from him. Ugh, he started to move until he remembered what had just happened. Well, this was an unexpected development. Maybe he could use this to his advantage. As the man thought this, the girl screamed out when finally have the chance to move her body. Why did I have to be Chaz today? Right, a voice called back, making Emma realize that someone just responded to wham. Present time. Naruto and Emma both tumbled to the ground before eventually coming to a stop, skidding several feet. Oh www. The duo cried when their heads were pulsing in pain from their collision. Ow, what the hell? Naruto groaned as he looked to see the girl who had hit him. Watch where you're going next time. Sorry, I don't know where. Emma stopped when her eyes glazed over to the young man who was sitting next to her. She blushed a bright red when his cloak fell from his body, showing his handsome face to her. Ah, what's wrong with you? Naruto raised an eyebrow. She shook her head, as the young lady didn't want to be seen as strange. Nothing. Grrrr. The two eyes widened as the beasts that were chasing Naruto finally caught up and surrounded them, causing the young man to click his tongue in anger. Great, and they seemed to double in numbers, too, he noticed, as some creatures weren't with the first ones that gave chase. Don't suppose you have friends coming? Naruto questions the girl as they stood up together. And no. Then he sighed before brandishing his weapon. Alright, get behind me. He orders. Then he slits his wrist as dark crimson liquid gush from it. I'm going to do something stupid. He announced, tilting his injured hand to allow the blood to pool into his now cupped hand. Why yes sir, Emma squeaked. Just stay close and you won't die, Naruto added. As the blood still spill on the floor, Naruto flicks some to the monsters as the humans back away from them and to the nearest wall. Slowly Naruto nearly splattered each one with his red fluids as he looked at Emma. My eyes are getting blurry, are most of them in my blood? It doesn't have too much, but I can't tell. He asked as even with his failing vision, he could tell that the monsters were getting ready to attack and hope it wasn't before either the preparation was finished or he fainted from blood loss. I think only a few aren't. About 3 at least, she estimated as the red substance was easy on their bodies. Perfect, I might not need a chant, but it at least makes it more powerful. Naruto smirked as he raised his injured arm. I banished my hopes and fall to despair as my enemies follow suit. He started as the beasts charged in, thus the blood that was split must be ignited with my curse. But the Emma got out, looking at Naruto's blood doing something. Dark Faraga his hand held a dark orb of black flames as it shot out towards the only few monsters that weren't in his blood, quickly cried in pain before simultaneous all the others did as well. Emma could only look on in shock. Her eyes were so wide, it felt like they could pop out at any moment just from the sheer amount of damage Naruto did. What is he? What did you do? Hold on, he said before snapping his fingers. Blood explosion. The blonde stated as the creatures imploded one after the other as the remaining creatures were soon caught in the flames or were flung to the walls, so hard bones were snapping. Now we can, he slowly draws out the words before realizing his time was up. Sorry and Rai. Thud. Hey. Emma cried out, running to the unconscious boy. Are you okay? Wake up. Angry you wish to go to the world below us? A dark-skinned man covered in white tattoos asked in slight amazement. I thought you hated the mortals. Damn right I do, a younger-looking Anri Angramine declared with a smile. I haven't allowed myself to stoop to being a dumb god or goddess that wants to be with them. But what I want is to see the little one again. What? That small mortal you've grown yourself attached to? The dark-skinned man asked, smiling kindly as he patted her head. And here I thought you were always such a prick all the time. The woman looked away. I will never become attached to one, not after what they did to me. She clutched her arm with her hand. The disgusting acts they've done to me to make them feel better about themselves. Saying I was the whore who caused all hatred and sins. The man's eyes became sad as he nodded. I know why I bask in the light treasured as a holy object. Forgive me, my dear sister, if I can't reverse the roles our father bestows us. You idiot, how the hell is it your fault? That prick we call father was the one who did this to us. And, you have to understand. Well, I wish to take your role, it might be a reason for that pain. He said, taking a knee to meet her eye level. You might find someone who might find the same pain, but being with that one person can make it all worth it. Anri shook her head before stiffening to look behind her as if she saw someone. Were you? Reality Anri. Naruto shouted, reaching out to what he saw in his dream. He looked around to see that he wasn't in the dungeon. He was in a different place. And there was no one at the moment. Naruto sighed as he fell back, his eyes staring at the ceiling. Damn, what did I just see? He wheezed in exhaustion. Crash. I won't kick him out until he wakes up, my lady. Naruto nearly leaps from his bed. He looked down to see a bed frame from stone with a soft bed underneath him. Not to mention there was a window that was carved out from the stone. Ruins. Getting up from his bed, he looked out to see outside and saw that there were platforms connected by several narrow walkways. There was the centermost platform, and the outer platforms hold various equipment shops. Several platforms were outside of the main structure, giving these ruins additional defense. Where am I? He wondered, although it was kinda amazing to see old ruins from the centuries where gods first descended to their world. He looked down and saw his wrist that he cut was bandaged up. Status, Naruto said, lifting his uninjured arm to show a small sphere of light that Anri taught him. Status magic was something gods can do, but thanks to his unique nature, he was able to use it with light changes. Only able to see his health and other basic info. Sadly, seems I am more okay than I was. Wait, how long have I been out? He wondered as he felt a bit sluggish. Before noticing on a nearby stone table was his clothes, save for his undergarments. Better get dressed, he muttered to see a cloak he had was no longer able to be used, given on there was only half of it. Damn, actually like this one. The blonde sighed as he folded it and felt anger coursing his veins as black flames appear and began to burn the fabric. Thanks for your service, he said softly as the last piece of it turned into ash. Hello? Are you awake? A familiar voice called out as Emma came into the room. Oh, you are awake. Oh, it's you, Naruto stated softly as to himself rather to the girl. I suppose you are the one who saved my life. He asked as the girl nodded and bowed her head. Yes. My name is Emma Flores. Emma nodded. But I should be thanking you for saving me. It's fine. I am Naruto Uzumaki. He stated before looking at his clothes, then turned to Emma. Where's my armor? I only see my clothes here. Oh, they're being repaired, Emma answered. It'll take some time, but they'll be good as new. Where am I? He asked as the darkness user said, pointing a thumb from outside, cause I never been out here before. Oh, you're in Lady Artemis's domain. Artemis? He whispered, why does that sound familiar? She's trying to force me to kick you out, but I won't. You're hurt and need to be all better. Emma said determinedly. So I'll be taking care of you. Why would Naruto's eyes lit up in realization as a memory came into his mind like a track in an old music player. If there's one goddess I like to hang out, it was Artie. Angraminyu said as she was standing in a waterfall with Naruto meditating next to her like she ordered him to. One of the few goddess I talk to when I can back in heaven. Naruto hummed out looking at the woman with closed eyes. Who's that? Hey, I'll tell you, but focus on that. If you're not going to use hate when you need it then keep up your mental fortitude until you can. She scolded him before nodding, right, Artie or Artemis to everyone else is a virgin goddess. Also the goddess of hunting, moon, wild animals, yada yada yada. She listed off. Oh right sorry. The woman replied feeling Naruto's annoyance for not answering him. If the one thing Artie I'd like about is that she is like she hates humans or at least. Ah fuck me sideways. Naruto paled as he remembered the tales of how Artemis and Anri nearly killed the male deities when they bathed together Anri nude as the hold-up. Naruto lifted a finger to Emma before smashing his head against the wall as he pulls out with a bleeding forehead. All better. He gave a shaky smile. Ah. Why did you do that? Emma panicked. Some unholy thoughts were in my head. Naruto said softly slightly ashamed for thinking of his dear friend like that, but that's because of his powers easier to fall if you spent in darkness for years. You didn't have to hit your head though Emma pouted. I had to Naruto stated before looking at Emma, I would like to talk to your goddess if you would allow me to. He announced hoping the girl would allow him to do. I'm not sure. Emma hesitated. Why not? He stated, I have no weapons nor the full strength to fight. Even if it was the case, I can tell a lot of strong people here will kill me before or after I hurt her. The young man stated the facts as Emma still seemed worried. Or are you worried she might kill me before I get to speak? Emma was silent when he said that last part. Yes, I won't die trust me, I stand corrected. Naruto calmly stated as he was pinned to the wall when dozens of arrows were stabbing his clothes. Oddly, all the arrows made the outline of his body. This is a special treatment or you do this for all guys. Lady Artemis. Please he is still recovering. Emma begged the goddess standing before her. She had green eyes and long blue hair with 2 long bangs, 2 strands on the sides, and a partly braided tail in the back. She wore a white and pale blue outfit, long brown boots with a light brown design, a belt which she kept a piece of white cloth and a dagger in, gold bracelets, and various gold hair accessories. But the image was slightly ruined when her enraged eyes glared at Naruto. Silence. Eek. Emma squealed in fear. What happened to talk things out? Naruto deadpanned. I thought you were more civil than this. Given what Anri said but she was seriously underestimating your hate for men. Silence. Artemis hissed raising her bow and arrow at Naruto, who now started to look alarmed. I will not hear what you have to say. Because of Anri. She lowered her arms with a raised eyebrow. Who is that? Naruto lowered his head as he shook his head, I will not say. He simply stated, as the Avenger couldn't let a dear friend of Anri know about her death. Well the gods of this world do return in centuries, for most deities it was a long wait while humans they won't be able to see them again. But what I can say is that your friend had a high opinion of you even with your distrust with males. What of it? Artemis glared slowly bringing her weapon again. Nothing, it must be nice to have a friend to stay with you faults and all. He honestly stated as the woman lowered her weapon and looked at her child. Emma, how long will this one stay? The goddess asked her friend as the pink-clad woman looked flustered for a moment at the acquisition. Until he's better. I don't know. He'll stay, but sleeps in the lookout tower at night from now on. She ordered before looking at the only male in the room. Your honesty will be repaid in my good deed. Don't overstay your welcome or I will hunt you down like I did with Hermes. Artemis declared as she walked away from the two. While we survived. Emma slumped to her knees at the dodge from death's side. Noted Naruto said. At least they're off on a somewhat good foot. He turned to the girl scratching the back of his head, sorry for that, but any food. The girl looked stunned at the young man, weren't you scared of Lady Artemis? How could he be asking for food when facing an enraged goddess? Why should I? Naruto raised an eyebrow. I've faced things worse than her. He mumbled the last sentence knowing him, the bastard that murdered his friend and first shaking his head, he dismissed those thoughts. Anyways, might I have something to eat even before we meet I was already on my second day of no food. Emma just smiled wearily at him, oh well it was at least honesty from him. She nodded as the girl pointed to the stone doorway into the bright light. Play. Hack outbreak. Server aerial city Fort out. Naruto's eyes nearly were blinded by the intensity of the light before he adjusted them to see ruins all around him, almost like a fortress of some kind, as it all was made of stone. This is Artemis's domain? He asked in slight awe. Yeah. Amazing right? Artemis said that this place was found by an old friend of hers, she pointed to the platforms around them, right here at the center is where our goddess is located. She said before gesturing the hill they were currently on then two were just a few feet lower to the earth and away from them were stone bridges connected to smaller platforms. Those platforms are where we live, each one has an underground facility. She said with an earnest smile on her face. It took time to figure each one out, but it seems they are made for living for a long time. There's 14 in total with 7 connected to each other. On the other side over there she pointed to a small lake that was inside as was the furthest platform. But Naruto could see another set of connected platforms, the other 7 are. Right. Naruto nodded, scanning the area. What about there? He asked, pointing left side where they were, the center platform. That's platform S, where all the extra gems or monster drops we get are stored there when we do a monthly deposit. Then welcome back for the food and supplies we need for the next few months, and any money left over will be stored here in another room. She said, pulling Naruto see a large and locked door given the golden lock latched into metal part to keep the door from opening. Only Artemis has the key and will allow the captain of her familia go with 2 others to deposit the magic shards for money. Makes sense. Naruto stated, knowing the greediness of humans. And there. The Avenger pointed to the one where it was left side when they left the storage building. That's platform H, for healing chambers. She started pulling Naruto to where she was going. It's where you woke up. Whenever people are hurt we take them to that area, it seems to reduce the time needed to heal. She said, entering the stone building to show a staircase. It had the least amount of rooms, where it's only 5 not counting the emergency room for our healers to use. Right. He nodded. He turned to see 2 more platforms, but the real surprise was he saw other females chatting in the nearest one. Who are they? Oh, my fellow familia members. Emma stated, happily waving towards them. Hey girls. Come on, I'll introduce you to them. The pink-clad girl said, pulling Naruto to the nearest platform. Quickly they arrived at the smallest platform with a blue spinning circle, as the 2 girls noticed Emma with a male they never seen before. Hey Karen, Oriana, you guys finished your run to the dungeon? Yes, the first girl has black eyes and long black hair with part of it braided. Wearing a dark and light purple outfit consisting of a top, skirt, gloves, breastplate, leggings, and shoes. She keeps her rapier in a purple sheath on the left side of her waist. We were worried for you, Emma, you left without someone to help you get your way back. The girl standing next to her nodded vigorously. This female had blue eyes and long golden yellow hair that she ties in a ponytail. She wears a white top with blue edge, a blue skirt with light yellow lines, a brown belt, white socks, a blue cape, and several pieces of armor. On her back was a large silver-colored trident with a gem on the metal spear tip. You're not going off on your own again, you hear us? Right, sorry, she sighed before pointing Naruto behind her, who was currently touching the spinning circle portal, as his finger slowly vanished into the blue liquid before retracting back. This here is the person who helped, I got attacked and he saved my life. Yo. Name's Naruto. He waved casually. The man. The blonde spear user said in a hushed tone, you better get him out of here. If Lady Artemis. Aaron simply places a hand on the taller woman's breastplate. Lady Artemis is letting him stay here until he gets better. What? They said in surprise. I just went to tell her about that, Karen said as the blonde girl lost her surprised look for a serious one. Emma noticed this as she spoke. Something wrong? Quite. Karen started as she looked at Naruto. You might want to listen too if you are going to leave eventually. She said in cool tone, neither hostile or kind, just neutral. Naruto turned to them as he was retouching the odd item nearby. We came out the newest dungeon we explored, but the odd thing, it was filled with ores and magic stones filled for the taking. The blonde knight stated with her arms crossed in front of her. The strangest part. The remaining monsters look almost dead, like all the blood sucked out of them. You don't say, Naruto muttered. Do you know something about that? Karen asked, with a frown. When I was in Arario a while ago, I heard something like a vampire was entering dungeons. But I wasn't interested as I didn't stay to hear about it. Naruto honestly explained as the dark-haired girl nodded. Well, I said my piece, we'll go to the other side and rest up. Karen said before moving back and suddenly sprint towards the spinning portal and vanished as her body went into the blue energy. Wah, see ya, you're welcome to eat with us, kid. Oriana chuckled before also running and vanished when her body made contact with the blue portal. How did she? Naruto raises his hand, as he looks confused. Emma giggled. It's nothing to worry about. Emma shook her head. That portal works as a way to side us to the other side of the lake. It can send you to the other side. The Avenger said before squinting his eyes to see small figures from the lake, barely, to see it was indeed Karen and Oriana there. Damn, that's impressive. He said, staring into it. Yeah, well, wanna meet the rest of the girls. The rest of the place here is just supplies, armory, and other stuff. She states, as Naruto should meet with the girls before forced to head for the lookout tower to sleep. Are you sure? Naruto asked uncertainly. I won't be intruding. Most of us don't really mind males. Artemis just enforces the no male thing herself, as she weakly chuckled, as she understands if Naruto was a bit worried about it. So come on, my sister is on duty cooking. She makes the best meals. Well, I did say I could use some food. Naruto mused. Alright then, lead the way. Splash. Ugh, Naruto and Emma both appeared from the blue portal, this time from the other side of the lake. But for some reason, Naruto felt very ill given his green face that was apparent on his face. That was less pleasant than I thought it was. It's not that bad. You'll get used to it. Emma said. I'm not holding my breath on that. Naruto groaned. So? Where are they? The center platform, the others are for rooms or mundane things, Emma said, walking to the straight bridge to head for the food that was served. Entering the building, and after a long flight of stairs, what seemed like forever, they saw a large room filled with several women at the tables. Hey, sis. Emma waved towards what Naruto saw what was a kitchen all made from the stony material that the underground building came from. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw the oldest female, who noticed them and smiled. When reaching them, Naruto slightly was in awe at her beauty. If Emma was the light and sweet beauty, then her sister would be the dark and mature one instead. She had waist-long hair that was done in twin tails, with each being held by silver rings to keep them in place. Wearing light leather armor, all in dark purple colored, on her chest was a blue crystal connected to her clothes. She wore dark lavender shorts held up a string tied up to her waist. Her calm and stoic face made her beauty more enticing with her stern amber eyes. I'll be right back, she said to another member as she went towards her sister. There you are, Emma. I've been worried sick when I heard you went on your own. Sorry things happened. Emma apologized. I didn't think she squeaked when her sister pulled her into a tight hug. Sis can breathe. Don't ever go off on your own, okay? The older sister said, not realizing she was killing her sister in her hug. Sis, I'm choking, need air. She wheezed. Hey, look a boy. Hug him. Okay, the woman airily said before seeing Naruto walk towards him with open arms. Come here. Whoa, hands to yourself. Naruto said, back away from the woman who started to chase him around the room. Help. Stranger danger. Give me a hug. She said loudly, although it was hard to notice as she still follows Naruto. Never. Naruto cried out comically as he was still being chased around. While the rest of the girls were whispering about the only male entering their home or laughing at the scene of the older girl chasing the teen. Soon after, some of the girls cut off Naruto's only escape paths was captured, turning blue as the girl tightly held him and shaking him slowly, like trying to calm a baby down. Let go or Henry, I'm coming. Naruto smiled as his life was finally ending. Ow. He cried when the girl let him fall to the floor. What the? You said to let go, the girl asked, leaning down and patting his head. There. How? Naruto said, dumbfounded. You never mind. He deflated. There was an awkward silence between the two of them before he decided to talk again. So, you're Emma's sister? Yes, her older sister. Sophia Flores. She said, smiling softly as Sophia helped Naruto up. Are you joining us? Huh? Joining? Naruto blinked. Are you joining our familia? The purple-haired woman asked dreamily as she was still asleep. Absolutely not. Artemis's voice shouted from afar. Ah. Both Emma and Sophia jump onto Naruto's arms, Scooby-Doo style, as the teen somehow grabbed both with each arm along a deadpan stare at them. How the hell did she hear that? Naruto muttered before dropping both girls to the floor. Look, I am not staying. He announces to the familia as he pointed to his injured arm, until this is healed up. But the blue-haired goddess declared before leaving, as did Naruto. Stop following me. The familia members sweat dropped at Artemis' voice, at most likely Naruto. There's only one staircase to leave. A few days later, the lookout tower that the hunting goddess told Naruto to live, it was a large wooden tower that was painted and camouflaged into the forest it was in. The placing of it was a rather well thought out idea. Naruto, when he had the chance, saw the whole area. There were 4 major factors in this area. The first is that the forest around him was miles long and dense, as there was a small passageway that was the only way to get into it. Meaning that entering the forest was foolish if you didn't have an expert tracker or someone who knows this area well like he and the Artemis familia do. The second is that while the forest is huge, the lake after you get out from the dense woodlands is so wide that Naruto estimated that it around 110 kilometers from a rough estimate, with each end having the ruins that familia is at. Add to the fact that when you arrive, you are directly in the middle of the lake, meaning it's a 10 to 15 minute run to get to either ruin. So if there were any intruders that the lookout tower missed, they would be easily spotted by the familia watching from afar for unknown intruders. The third is that there's from the other side of the lake to the opposite was Rocky Mountain, which gives them a good place to defend and limits the options of enemies escaping and coming. Lastly was the lookout tower Naruto was in. While it was well hidden, the real purpose was to alert the others by either smoke signal or other means of getting attention if possible discreetly, so the intruders can be a sneak attack to learn their lesson. A young man was watching in the window from his lookout tower provided as he lazily whittled a small block of wood, carving it oh so slowly. He was bored out of his mind. Hey, I got you some pies that sis made. Naruto turned to see Karen, Emma and Oriana walking to him from the nearby stairs. How are you feeling? She asked the same usual question whenever she saw him each day. Bored, Naruto sighed. But it looks like my last day is here, he said, waving his once bandaged arm to them, noticing their sad looks. What's wrong? You're leaving, Karen pouted. We'll never see you again, Oriana added. Forever, Emma finished. Yeah, I am. I wasn't going to stay forever, he said softly. I mean, I promised Artemis that I would leave when I got better. The girls nodded as they all knew Naruto's personality, and it was odd. He acted in many ways what Artemis hated in men: lazy, easily angry, lustful, although it was just playful flirting, envious, and the fact he can't out-eat her in terms of food made her also hate him for that. But he had just an odd contradiction, as he always did the opposite for them. When they needed help, he would be the first to come instead of hiding. When there was an argument between familia members, he would be the calm one to quell the anger on each side before he got them to talk civilly. He was the one who even agrees with Artemis to be wary of men, the only few times they actually didn't get on each other's nerves. When girls started to get jealous of a rare item or cute clothing, he would find one or make the same design to stop it. It was almost like he was acting bad to hide his true kindness. Not even a visit? Karen hoped. Sorry, I can't. Naruto shook his head. I want to, but your goddess won't let it. Unless you want me to be full of arrow holes. No, the girl said, defeated from the most likely scenario that would happen. Naruto chuckled as he looked down. He was going to miss being with so many nice people, but he didn't want their goddess to be angry with them for his selfish request. After all, unlike him, they still had their own goddess to protect. Well then, I'll be going. Naruto waved as he turned around to leave. Wait please, we can try to talk to Lady Artemis, let us try at least. Emma begged, as she didn't want to lose her new friend. But she watched as Naruto, already sitting on the ledge of the lookout window, before falling down. Naruto. She deadpanned to see him a yard down, smiling at her, wearing his now completed armor outfit. He was wearing a long-sleeved black t-shirt with gunmetal gray torso armor that was segmented over it, and over that was a gunmetal gray shoulder cape, and over that was a red shoulder cape. To finish, he wore black pants with gunmetal gray greaves and red tailcoat that covered the back of his legs. Goodbye, he said softly before running off to where he last was at before. I'm going to find that red-eye bastard. I'm going to miss him, Emma said longingly, as she still felt indebted to Naruto for saving her. You want to go with him? And leave you all with my sister? She joked as the girls began to giggle at the small jab at Sophia before Karen glared and gripped her sword. Problem, we got a stranger coming. That's Emma whispered as dread filled her being. She turns to her friends with a scared look. We gotta let everyone know we got someone dangerous coming. The pink-clad member said before starting a small fire and burned some dried leaves that a nearby metal urn before also putting in a mixture of red powder and water before nodding as it made a crimson color smoke. It was for an intruder, red being the most dangerous level. Naruto sighed as he walked towards the dungeon where he met Emma. I'm really going to miss them. He barely remembered the last time he had to stay in one spot since leaving on this blood-soaked path. The teen shook his head in refusal. I can't let them be burdened by my task. He admitted, putting his hands into his pockets, but something was off. His right hand pulled out of it to show it grabbed a ribbon. Wait, that color is, he noticed that it was pink. Crap, she must use this on my hand when we first met. No wonder I didn't bleed out. I gotta go back. Turning back, he quickly strides down to meet the girls. Hopefully, Artemis would allow him to give Emma back her ribbon. I really hate this conflicting nature of mine. Naruto mused as he has to act bad to use his darkness well enough, but his noble heart also combats this on how he tries to rectify it. The heart is full of justice with a power that craves for injustice to unleash its power. Rumble. Whoa. Naruto shouted as he fell to his knees when a sudden quake nearly made him fall down. What was that? He wondered, looking around. He hoped that it wasn't for the worst. Damn, didn't think I had to use that. A male voice said as it was soft and trying to catch his breath. Artemis, Sophia and Emma can barely stand as the last attack from this monster nearly did them in, but behind them was the unconscious bodies of their comrades. There before them was a single man wearing a black robe and white mask with odd red symbol on his face. HMPH, no matter, where is Naruto? He demanded softly as he placed a hand on his mask and pulled away to show it was the same man that attacked Emma many days ago. What's he to you? Emma demanded back. Why, he's the one who will kill all the gods who caged humanity under their grip. The man smiled widely, to the point it was also horrifying to look at. Like we did to Angramine you and so many others. Be what? Artemis gasped out in shock. Oh? What's this? You didn't know? The man asked. Ha 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 ha. Now this is rich. To think you were completely clueless as to what's really going on. Oh, this is going to be fun. He said, lifting his arm covered his robe sleeve as small shiny objects shot towards the goddess. My lady. Emma said, about to dash until her sister pushed away and took the attack instead. One-san. The pink-clad woman watched as her sister complexion turned paler and paler as little orbs were on her skin or clothes as they were slowly filling with blood. Run, Sophia said, falling to her knees from the blood flowing away from her body. This man no matter what we do. He won't fall, she whispered as Emma rushed to her and pulled into her arms. Oni-san. Emma cried out. What are you? Artemis said as she saw one of the orbs return to the man who pulls out the needle where it sucks out the liquid to place it to his lips. Ugh, she gave a disgusted look as the man gently partook of her captain of her familia blood like it was fine wine. What am I, you ask? The unmasked man chuckled. I am simply Peta. Before once more taking a small sip of the blood. Type A, not my favorite, but a good blend. Emma, I want you to go to the magic building and cast a retreat spell and get everyone the hell out of here. I'll buy you some time. The goddess started drawing her bow once more, prepare to die right here and now to end this man or meet hers, but there's no time. Go. I won't let Girk. Peta looked down as saw three black-like fangs stabbing his chest, turning his head to see Naruto. You're alive, he smiled before the teen pulls away from his weapon and shoves the man to the side. Are you guys alright? Naruto yelled, rushing towards them, but stopped when Artemis still had her weapon at Naruto. Hey, I just helped. No, this is for him. She started letting go of the arrow as it whizzed past Naruto too. Shing. You know that kinda hurt. The blonde shakily turned his head to see Peta pulling an arrow out of his eye with the object in the arrowhead. Before another one from in his empty socket and pulled the new one out too. Geez, this is a sight for sore eyes. How the hell? Naruto said, jumping back as Artemis looked at him. That's the problem, most of the girls here had killed more than 30 times. However, he just keeps getting back up. She declared as Peta squeezed out his regenerative eyeball as the new appear. And just takes his time draining the girl's blood. To be honest, going all out wasn't my way, to begin with, like Lord Phantom. Peta chuckled, moving an arm to wave it to show his uncaring attitude. Much like when we set fire to that orphanage of yours. Naruto eyes flared up as he remembered that event. You're with that bastard Thomas? He questioned as the girls looked at him oddly. Thomas? Alright, that was the name Phantom used when he was trying to adopt you. Yes, I am an ally of Lord Phantom. The pale man said before pointing at Emma, then Naruto. And you two have the honor of joining us. Like hell. The pink-clad girl said as she glared at the blood drinker. Peta pulled back the orbs that were still on Sophia as he suddenly summoned more, all filled with precious liquid that all human body needed. Come and I let them survive, assuming they haven't died from losing this much blood already. You bastard, Naruto growled, clenching his weapon tightly. What guarantee do we have that they'll survive? In fact, don't even answer that, cause I'll answer it for you. None. Cause you'll kill them either way. That point might as well drag you myself. Peta said as more blood orbs towards Naruto. The blonde breathes out as he moves out the way, barely getting hit by them. Peta raised an eyebrow before move flew at Naruto, but his eyesight shows him that blonde using minimum movement and timing. Hika no dancing, Peta stated as he retreated the orbs that missed Naruto. Lord Hika and Lady Hika were had for Phantom and the others to kill due to their odd rhythmic footwork. He mused softly, why do you know it? Because they taught me, Naruto retorted. Old man Hika wanted a boy to do the dance every winter and I got saddled with it. He joked as the real reason was for something else. Well, that explains it. Peta mused. Partly. What? I don't think you're completely telling me the truth. Peta clarified. On what? Naruto said before he vanished from the man's sight. Before reappearing behind him again. Die. Peta looked shocked as he was turned around, but the moment he did, DHWACK. Naruto rolled to the floor when he was flung back. He turned his head to where Peta was and looked in slight fear when the man held a dangerous-looking scythe. If there's one thing I hate, it's being attacked from behind. Really pathetic, if you ask me. Peta said, cracking his neck from side to side. But it was sneaky using Namika's clan running at me. Peta started with a nod on Naruto's tactics nonetheless. Naruto gasped as he picked himself up. You wish to know how I know that? I fought a man who used it as well. Using what was it called again? Oh yes, the lightning running. The man stated as both hands were on his weapon, watching Naruto almost fading in and out as he restarted his movements. Both of those techniques. The young just moved forward, leaving images of himself as Peta charged on as well, as scythe crashed into Naruto's blade breakers, barely able to absorb the heavy blow from. The pale-robed man swung the bottom part of his weapon to hit Naruto's side, only for the young man to bend back using one leg to keep himself balanced until the attack miss, as he kicked off the ground to graze the man's eye, as he growled in pain from losing it. The pale man twirled his blade to the back to stop Naruto from appearing from behind. The blonde vanished to Peta's sides repeatedly as he took a deep breath. I see, Peta announced when watching Naruto's speed increasing. You have an odd breathing pattern that can keep you doing that odd dance. Naruto didn't reply as he jumped and began to lift his leg for a kick. He can't hear me. Peta said as he saw Naruto's eyes, they were dead, almost unaware of his enemy. The man twirled his arms to increase the force of his swing as his scythe. However, Naruto's body shifted as the back of his foot caught onto the scythe, then pull himself forward. Peta frowns as he saw Naruto right arm slashing his chest before using the left to cut his neck. Pushing his own weapon and with it Naruto, Petanek started to heal first. Damn, okay, I'll give you that one. He's not even listening, Artemis said as her eyes watched as Naruto's speed just increase before noticing something. The night was slowly coming. He had to end this or less his no way. The blue-haired goddess watched as lightning started to gather around the boy's feet. Fire came out from his mouth with each exhale, breath, water whenever his arms flew wildly with each step. Beautiful, Emma whispered as the young man was bathed in elements that only the most dedicated magic users could ever do all at once. His magic is so vast. The goddess near her didn't think so, as she shook her head. No, that's his will. His body is going beyond any limit, but at the same time it just keeps getting stronger. Artemis wonders aloud watching Naruto skillfully dodge and cut Peta once more. The man was nearly covered in his own blood as the young man just keep moving about. Like he was controlling the man's own motions. You mean he's going to? No, I doubt he will die. But how can he do this? She wondered as darkness continued to drape the area. No wonder Phantom wants him, just like his parents. This kid is almost like a monster. The robed man smiled eerily as his arms were spread forward. Blood web. His fingernails suddenly shot out as thin trails of blood became small strands of red strings, but when they touch some of the ground or grass nearby, it burns it away. I know Lord Phantom would be displeased for letting Naruto-kun come as damaged goods. But what's a few months of healing and waiting to give him the blessing? He pondered to himself as Naruto dodged the attack as the web started to weave around him, barely to escape which attempt after him. Naruto won't last if this keeps up. Emma shouted as she saw the real purpose of the attack, to force Naruto to limit his space of movement for the webs to capture him. Grabbing her weapon she was about to go. Don't let him, Artemis stated, an odd look in her eyes. Emma stared at her goddess to see something that was only for women in the familiatrist. She trusted this man who she just met fighting for his life. I'm at the end of my rope, even if I can keep going the moment I have to stop for a moment, all these combining techniques will cause me to black out. Naruto thought to himself, knowing the time was now as the shine of the crescent moon was above him. The time was to unleash the power that Anri gave him. Jumping into the air, this will be the only chance to catch his breath. As he flew above, the teen clenches his teeth as the air was forcibly sucked into his lungs. Uzumaki rapid respire, 9 folds. He screamed in his mind as his lungs gather an ungodly amount of oxygen as he closed his mouth as he reached for the moon. Now he breathed out as his body started to glow, but not from the light of the moon. It was almost the darkness was glowing around his very being, something so dark that it shined even when it was nighttime. What in? Peta gasped. What's going on? Emma slightly shook. It's as if he's Nancy of the goddess of duality. Naruto shouted, rushing forward towards the blood drinker as he let go of his blade breakers, lifting his right arm as the dark shine started to create a large rectangular-like blade. More, Peta whispered as the number of blood webs doubled, then tripled, and then quadrupled. As they all flooded at the teen, time for you to come with us, Naruto. He roared as his eyes stare in awe as the teen clothes were caught on fire when they came into contact with Peta's blood webs. You're willing to sacrifice everything for strangers? Peta asked in fear, moving back as he flexed his fingers in hopes to circle behind Naruto and grab him there. No. The teen replied, slashing the webs in front of him while running even faster to the point that he was practically gliding across to reach Peta. The man started to look more and more scared as the young man cut the burning blood weapons like they were simple strands of thread. Try this. He yelled as dozens of his red-colored strings were coming at Naruto from both his side. He won't reach him at this rate. Emma screams as it was the end of this battle. Artie, can you hear me? The beautiful woman looked around to find the voice of her friend, Angra, mind you, Angra. She barely whispered. Is that you? No, I'm gone, but I need to tell you, save him. Just this once, don't let him, my Naruto, die so young. The voice said softly, filled with silent desperation. What? Artemis gasped. Please, for me. Amit, the goddess took aim and shed a tear. You promised me you wouldn't die, idiot, she whispered before letting go. And this one is for me, you bastard, the blue-haired woman declared, shooting another couple more after the first one in rapid succession. I won't be able to cut them all down, but he left himself defenseless. Naruto thought in his mind, dashing forward to escape the flood of red strings, as Peta smiled, pushing his arm forward as a few strings were shing. As his arm was pushed to the side along with his strings when an arrow was shot into the wrist, a smile came into his mind when Naruto's body exploded with the dark light around him. Phantom, sorry, I won't let you bastards take my friends a second time. Naruto cried out, reaching him, moving his right arm that held the weapon far back as he swung with all his might at the man's left side. I will protect them this time around. He vowed, now his left hand touching the handle of the mystical weapon and push hard, bisecting the man into two. Watching the upper part fly into the lake with a loud splash. Emma fell to her knees at the sight that was almost legendary to witness. He did it, she turned to see the pale girl slowly regain color and soon open their eyes. but quickly turned to see her sister struggling to pick herself up, but it didn't matter to Emma as she tackled her older sister in a hug. "Ow Emma, what?" Sophia groaned when her younger sister made her crash on the floor back first. You're okay," Emma sobbed, choking up in her tears. "What about him?" Artemis said to the still standing Naruto, who hasn't moved at all before suddenly falling to his side. "Oh no," she dashed forward to check on the boy and gasped in horror. He's not breathing." She looked back at the girls who rushed to her. "Breathe," she cried out, putting Naruto on his back as she pushed on his chest. "Someone help me," the goddess ordered, watching Emma pressing her lips to Naruto's own and blew breaths of life into him. "Breathe, just breathe," she repeated, hoping he would hear her. "Please breathe. Hey, breathe," Anri said, patting Naruto's back softly. "You shouldn't have done that weird dance like that," she scolded, watching Naruto, a young child before her, showing her a beautiful yet odd dance with her sword breakers. "You okay?" the goddess said as the young boy finally could breathe normally again. "Why yeah, sorry, I wanted to show you my Akasan and Otu-sen skills that Lord Hiashi showed me," he said, looking at his left ankle that was red when he sprained. "Well, it was stupid of you to do that," Anri huffed. "You almost died." Sniff, the chaotic being bit her tongue when she saw tears in her favorite human's eyes, before gently rubbing his head. "It's beautiful, but promise me something. Don't do that again when your life is at stake. Wait, only do that for the people you care about. Never anything below that should be allowed for it to appear, so just breathe." "Anri, I did." Naruto responds quickly before she said it again. "Breathe. And Artemis is home." "I am." Naruto shouted, comically sat up with a scared look. "Stop yelling." The Avenger slows his words when he saw Artemis in front of his bed holding a tray of food. He looked at the woman before the events from what happens due to his passing out. "Is everyone okay?" He stopped when the woman goddess set the tray on his lap when she nodded. "Yes, stop and eat. You've been out for almost all last night," she gently deemed as Naruto did, looking at a bowl of oatmeal with small amounts of raspberries. "Angramine you didn't she?" Naruto stops his spoon from entering his mouth. "Yeah, boo." The man who called himself Thomas, but going with what that petaguy said, it seems Phantom is his real name. "I see. That bastard killed a lot of my friends." Naruto clenched his spoon tight. "And he's going to pay." Artemis didn't say anything, as the information of her dear friend passing was head for her to take. "As a favor to her and what you have done, I shall allow you to stay with my familia." The teen looked at the goddess, who blushed as she looked away. "I admit you have saved their lives and offer you a place to live might be the best way for both you and your new friends that you have quickly befriend." "Are you sure?" "Yes. I owe you that much. And I'm sorry for how horribly I've treated you." She bowed in apology before her eyes gave a stern look. "But this does not mean you are joining us, you are only living with us. But I shall help you get registered in the guild in Arario first thing when you are feeling better," she said, standing up, smiling at him softly. "I don't feel like abandoning Anri's only human friend from being a hero." Naruto blushed as he remembers that old oath. "How? You tend to talk in your sleep," she said, looking back before resuming. Just as she was about to leave, Artemis stopped in her tracks. "Thank you for saving my precious familia." Naruto watched her leave him and feels a gentle warmth in his chest from the simple words. "I really want to be that hero, but Phantom needs to die first." He promised, but he can at least be a little selfish, right? Outside of Arario, Eda, the man who ended the life of Anri and burned down Naruto's home, softly cried as he smiled. "Your death shall not be in vain, old friend." He stares towards the hundreds of people he had recruited into his home. Years of not having Naruto made him search for the missing boy to only fill the void by collecting subpar people. "You have given me my hope again, oh little Naruto," he chuckled as his head gently sat on his fist when he allowed it to hold it up. "I shall let you stay with those girls until we meet once more." A young woman wearing a single purple halter top, which was connected to a rose ornament that also attached to a golden necklace on her neck that was see-through on her stomach and not her chest. She wore a purple arm and leg warmers and had ribbons covering her shoulders and arms. On her shoulders were dark, shiny, transparent robe sleeves adorning her body. "Fufufu, I finally found you, my dear Ani-sama," she smiled softly, using a small orb that held the side of Naruto cutting Peta's body. "You only look more handsome since we last met." Fufufu, she, however, glared when she saw women all coming towards him when he fell down and nearly crushed the orb when Emma kissed her beloved Ani-sama. "That bitch is mine, 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 mine. My lady." A bewitching blue-haired maiden walks toward the young woman. "Are the plans ready?" The woman lost her glare before moving to the woman, touching her cheek to watch the woman's eyes glazed over. "Yes, Conan, remind me to thank my friend Freya for helping me see how to get my Ani-sama back to me," she whispered as a blush came to her cheeks, thinking on how he takes her and so many others she had ready to please her sweet lovely Ani-sama. Chapter start. Artemis glared into a closed box that can fit a human being inside. The beautiful woman closed it gently, softly muttering. "I pray they listen to me." This wasn't what she had in mind. Not in a million years would she think that it would come to this. Hey, Artemis, can I come in now? The woman wondered if it was too late to stuff Naruto into the box along with what it was stored in. Yes, come in. She said as she tucked the box away under a secret compartment. Naruto then walked into the room as soon as she put the box away. Are you sure you don't want me to bury it 10 feet and seal it? Naruto asked, walking towards the object and began to take out an inkstone and brush, then applied it to make some restriction seals. No. Artemis suddenly snapped, causing Naruto to jump. She then composed herself, clearing her throat. No, that won't be necessary. She answered calmly, either way, we have to make sure the rest knows what happened. So no others would feel what anger did. She explained, trying her best to not show her anger to Naruto. Naruto could only frown at her answer before shrugging it off. Okay, whatever you say. Anything else we should do then? No, out. She bluntly pointed to the open doorway as soon as Naruto was finished applying the details to the seal. Fine, I'll just run on water. Naruto spouted, poured back at her, making the moon goddess roll her eyes. As if anyone can really do that, not even gods, he's really doing it. Emma's jaw went slack when watching Naruto running so fast that his arms and legs were a blur as he barely made a yard before running out of steam, swiftly dropping into the water. The young woman witnessed Naruto swimming towards her and smiled. Okay, you can walk on water. She laughed as the teen swam towards her. Told you, Naruto said, pulling himself out of the lake, shaking his head to get rid of the water off his hair. As Emma blushed on how alluring the act was. You're really something, aren't you? Emma mumbled as she tried to look away from the boy, but it was hard not to. Not really, my teachers were hard on me, Naruto explained, remembering that even though he was determined to kill Thomas Phantom, he wasn't even close enough to use a sword right. Some traveling adventurers were able to give the basics, and the rest was him getting used to fighting with his usual style. And I had to keep this body able to go through anything. The girl turned even redder when some of her thoughts turned naughty, when his words could mean something else. Is that so? Yeah. What do you think I meant? Naruto raised a brow. Emma panicked, trying to come up with an answer, but nothing came out of her mouth. Nothing? She shouted comically before shaking her head. So it's been nearly a month since that blood guy attacked. She said, looking back to see the forest where there have been officially a pair of watchers on lookout ever since the attack happened. It's weird that we've been on edge, nothing like this has ever happened in all the time we all came here. Sorry about that. Naruto apologized, knowing it was his fault that the odd man was no doubt hunting him for Phantom. Although Emma often assured him that the killer was after her as well. And no, it's not your fault, Emma tried to assure the young man. It is. I put all of you in danger. Naruto retorted, knowing that the bloodsucker was more after Naruto after confirming he was around. Anyway, what's going on with the vault? Naruto asked, pointing to where the captain and vice captain of the Familia were having a few girls overhauling large boxes of magic shards into a horse-drawn wagon. It's time for the monthly deposit, Emma smiled widely, we must have made double since we couldn't go last month due to Artemis locking us down. Naruto nodded to that logic. It wouldn't be a good idea, even though everyone was physically okay after he brutally cut Peta in half. Speaking of which, he looked at the mountains nearby, seeing some of the girls also stationed there as another means of recon. So you guys are heading to Aurelio then? The rookie of the team nodded, yeah. It's the closest and Lady Artemis has an important task back there as well. Emma said, standing up, well, I need to get ready, I'm going with them too. Naruto nodded until they saw Sophia coming towards them. Naruto-kun. She asked in her usually airy-like tone, do you want to come? What do you mean, Wani-sama, I thought it was the captain who takes you and Lady Artemis to the city. Emma turned to ask her sister, who pointed the nearby captain of the Familia to the goddess platform where she was speaking to the blue-haired deity. Sophia merely yawned as she continued, another new rule, captain has to stay here and I go to the city. Can't afford to waste power by taking the two strongest members away at the same time. Wait, seriously? Emma raised an eyebrow. When was this? Guessing when I killed Peta, Naruto drew out with a chuckle. But why ask me? Lady Artemis wanted to ask, but said the second those words left her mouth, I would rather stab my tongue, Sophia said with almost perfect match to her goddess mannerisms. That sounds about right. Naruto nodded in slight deadpan. Well, whatever. Let her do what she wants. I guess I could tag along with you girls. Just in case. Great, so it would be me, Emma, Naruto, Lady Artemis, Karen, Oriana, Love, and Gita. Sophia listed out the members as Emma realized a big group than the usual 3 or 4 means that strength in numbers for Peta's little group attacking her and Naruto. Like you said, Naruto-kun. Just in case. Right. Just in case. On the road, so you've been to the city before coming here, right? Karen asked as she and Naruto were behind the large cart that held their double amount of magic stones to sell to the city. Yeah, I've been there every now and then. Naruto shrugged. The girl nodded to Naruto's words, I see, I really haven't been there in a while, so I wasn't really able to stay longer than a few days for new equipment. Well, now that we got plenty of stock in magic stones, you might just stay longer. Naruto said. Besides, a change in scenery would do good for the both of us. Right, usually the girls who can join the captain and Sophia had to be the person to run errands for the whole family. From clothes to new adventure equipment, Karen deadpanned with a weak smile. That was the worst job as you don't have time to shop for yourself when it happens. Yikes, that bad huh? Naruto winced a bit. They can't even buy the essentials for themselves. Just what kind of budget were they on? No, not that bad, Karen stated. I mean that Artemis doesn't want us to stay longer than we should. Cause you know men. Right, her hatred for men. Naruto sighed, being reminded that the girl just outright hates the opposite sex for whatever reason she could think of. Apparently her hatred stemmed from when she, her sisters, and an old friend as Karen said that Naruto immediately knew it was Angry she meant by, were enjoying a nice bath until gods and the one person she had a small crush on, peeped on her which led to raising a hand. Naruto gave a deadpan look, say no more goddammit, that sounds like my godfather would have done. Your godfather? Yeah, his name's Jiraiya. Though I call him Pervy Sage. He may be a badass at everything, but he hits on the beautiful woman all the time. Naruto explained, remembering those days. The guy just wouldn't stop. So much, I had to keep beating the crap out of him, and even that wasn't enough. So what did you do? Karen asked. Well, I introduced him to my friend when I told her about him beforehand. She summoned a hellhound to attack him, or more specifically his junk. He said, laughing at the sight of a white-haired old man running back and forth with a small fire puppy chasing him. Ahaha, that's wait, a hellhound, Karen screamed but covered her mouth as they were still outside, meaning monsters could hear them. Are you serious? Plain as day. Naruto shrugged. And that got him to change his ways after the incident. He won't be some damn pervy old man hitting on the ladies anymore. But that made Karen laugh, it made her look at him oddly. You do realize summon magic is almost level 5 for the top tier members of the magic users, right? Even our captain is level 4, nearly earning 5th from just her experience leveling the playing field against others. Level what? Naruto asked as Karen nearly tripped over herself at the idea of Naruto not knowing that. Guys. Can we take a small break? Emma and Artemis' head poke out from the back of the cart before the blue-haired woman nodded as the group decided that it was a good stopping point here. Thankfully, they were resting at a nearby lake, so it was a good idea to resupply for the time being. So you really don't know about levels? Emma asked as she saw Naruto broke some kind of brown bar into a pot of food he was making. Nope. Not a clue. Naruto answered them. All the girls' sweat dropped at this. This was gonna take a while to explain. It would make sense, given Anri's situation, Artemis whispers to herself, giving Naruto a nod of understanding. Emma would be so kind and tell him. The pink-haired girl nodded. In every familia there is a system to tell who is the strongest and weakest, new and veterans. Levels tells everyone in the familia where they are, nothing bad depending on the familia you are in. Some like minor Evenmi younger brother Artemis gave a sneer of both disgust and pity when saying her sibling's name. Only use it for just that, to keep the children we have understood their strength. Some have more darker ways to use it, or some like businesses to show who is the best at their job. Most of the city of Arario are level 1, but my girls have at least 2, with the exception of 2 others as they joined recently. So, it pretty much is a requirement for being an adventurer. Naruto tilted his head, so what level am I? That's going to be hard, Artemis truthfully responded, as you need a goddess blood to check your status, but I won't be able to thoroughly check it until you are part of Familia. The best I can do is just see some basic stats. Then don't worry, so leveling up means beating monsters? Naruto asked as Sophia handed him some crudely chopped veggies. Thank God it was okay for this dish. No, you have to at least have a skill and also show something that the gods are impressed. At least a total of 3 in Arario, or if you live close to it, before you can level up. Sophia said, watching Naruto stir in her chopped veggies into the pot. She started to drool as the smell coming from it was exotic and wonderful. That's not fair, Naruto whined before slapping a sneaky hand from Sophia from touching the pot. But it shows that many who are still level 1 aren't really worthy of moving up. Many believe they deserve a rank rather than doing something about it. Karen said, entering the group. They had to switch Familia members every half hour to watch the cart from the inside. And now it was for Oriana to take over and learn from her what they were talking about. Nothing is ever easy, is it? Naruto sighed. Giving up so soon? Emma smiled as Naruto shrugged and smiled at her. At least I'm a level 3. Thud. Naruto dropped his knife loudly as it nearly went all in the makeshift table he was using, i.e. a stump nearby. I thought you were a rookie. Sophia shook her head. She technically joined a few months before you helped us, but I have been training her since I joined the Familia. She has done amazing stuff before you came and earned her status fairly. She said absent-mindedly, not knowing Naruto just felt like he was left in the dust. Naruto's jaw dropped at that. He just couldn't believe it. I've been lied to. It's all a lie. Shut up and cook. Artemis rolled her eyes before looking at him. Wait, I've been meaning to ask. How did you learn to fight like that the night with that vampire man? Naruto's hands went stiff when hearing her say that. It's a long story, he offered as the goddess didn't seem to like her. He turned to the dazed girl, keep stirring this until you feel it's getting too thick to do it. Hi, she said, doing what Naruto told her to do as he went to the campfire that Karen just started, taking a seat. Alright, gather round. I'll tell you the story. Oh good, a tale of bloated egotism. Artemis said but noticed Naruto's serious look, nothing but a far-off look. I guess to me, learning this wasn't about power. At least for my sake, it was for revenge against Phantom. Naruto remembered the name that Peta said, that name the blood drinker said, as if it was someone to admire. Phantom, Emma muttered to herself. What was this Phantom like? I don't really know, he likes me. I can never forget how he genuinely seemed kind to me. Like an older brother trying to protect his younger kin. Naruto said, remembering how Phantom tried to appeal to him both when trying to adopt him and convincing him to join him. It was so odd to hate someone who actually wanted to like that person, but his true nature, Phantom's darkness. He hates anything weak and the gods he believes those weak are to perish, at least to my understanding. The fact he wanted me and Ems, Naruto said as Ems was nicknamed that Emma adores hearing from him. He sees potential in our growth. But he wasn't all talk, I could tell even now no one can reach his power. That's unsettling, Love said. Naruto turned to her. She was one of the few members of the familia he had met a lot during his extended time living with them. Love has red eyes and long pale pink hair, along with cat ears and tail of the same color. She wears a red open stomach dress with gold edges, a purple bikini top and bottom, purple gloves, and red leggings with gold edges. She is the most social person of the group, always being a playful girl to those she meets, which is why she and Naruto got along well. You have no idea what he's truly capable of. Naruto said, as the girl all looked at each other. Was this Phantom person really that powerful? It sounds too good to be true. Artemis crossed her arms in suspicion. It didn't matter, I met someone as strong as him. She was one who taught me that power wasn't just the only way to fight. He said, throwing a piece of wood into the fire. Although I only used this to keep my other means of fighting as a last resort. How come? Sophia inquired about the boy. And be sure, Phantom is watching me from somewhere. Naruto said with a glare. Wait, you mean now? Emma asked as she looked around wildly. He shakes his head, a precaution if anything, I need every advantage possible. How's the curry coming, Sophia? Naruto asked Sophia, now using both hands to stir the pot. Oh, it's just about done. Sophia said as she stirred more of the pot. After about half a minute, she grabbed several plates and served the curry along with rice that was also piping hot. Here you go, everyone. Eat up. She smiled, handing each of them a plate. Okay, I'll bite. The hell is curry? Love said, her nose wrinkling at the smell. Sophia looked rather appalled. You don't know what curry is? You do, space case. Karen deadpan, surprised to hear that from the absent-minded woman. Yeah, it's like a sauce, she said, holding a ladle before sipping it, then turning red as she sweated bullets. That's like fire. The FFT. Naruto walked away to go take over for Oriana. Enjoy the food, guys. He said as he passed Oriana, who gave a quick thanks. He sat himself on the floor next to the wagon. Been a while since I made this for the teacher. The one who trained you? Sophia said, her head popping from the inside of the wagon curtains. Yeah, Naruto nodded as he looked up at the sky, going down memory lane. He nearly screamed, what the hell? Sophia, you scared me. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Sophia apologized earnestly, as it really was an accident. I just happened to overhear. You're really not what I imagined for a vice captain, Naruto said, slightly nodded out by this woman, watching her giving him a sweet smile while sitting next to him. She placed a finger on her lip, tilted her head acutely. You really think so? She wondered. I thought you guys would be intimidating. You're intimidating as a cute cat. Naruto said as he gave a deadpan look when she yawned cutely and stretched. Well, looks can be deceiving. Sophia said. We might just surprise you. Hard to believe someone laid back as you become vice. Naruto shook his head to look back to see Sophia smiling sadly. I wasn't like this, I was really stressed out nearly every day of my life. She said, leaning on the wagon to sigh softly. You don't seem the type to stress. Oh, I do. You just don't see it. Sophia shrugged her shoulders. When me and Emma's parents passed away, I worked tirelessly to afford food for us. I remembered if anyone tried to touch me or look at Emma the wrong way, I hurt them. I see. You must really care about Emma. Naruto nodded in understanding. She is my only sister, but when we need more money I try to become an adventurer. In Arario, so many familia wanted me for my looks or my skills. But Lady Artemis came to me, she saw my pain and offered me a home. Naruto looked sad before nodding to the reason, and you've been with her ever since. MHMM. I owe my life to her. Emma is the same. Sophia said with a warm look on her face. But it told me something. The morning always comes. Naruto looked back as the girl cupped his cheeks, her soft purple eyes stared into his ocean blue ones. You also went through pain, but it's okay, want to sleep with me? Foosh. Suddenly Naruto's body was suddenly covered in his black tattoos before they turned red along with his face. What? What? Emma sometimes sleeps with me if it's thunderstorms. Sophia said as Naruto felt his heart slow down from misunderstanding her meaning. Soon the seals also fade in a matter of moments. Or maybe she let go of his head before gently sitting him on his side to lay his head on her lap. Naruto muttered. Who would have thought he'd be given the lap pillow treatment? Yashi, she whispered, rubbing his head, her face resembling a kind mother pampering her child. The young man felt sleepy, his eyes were becoming heavy and his vision became blurry. This felt nice. He never had a good night's sleep in years. Zzz. Sophia giggled at the sight of Naruto's dopey face. He's so cute. She lifted her face to see Artemis is staring at her with a disappointed look on the goddess' face. I'm not waking him. That's not the point. Artemis huffed at her. Just what do you think you're doing? Spoiling him? She asked if it wasn't the right action to be doing. For what reason? He's worse than me and Emma, he has no parents, lost his home and free Ensel alone. Sophia sadly said, rubbing the young man's back. Naruto fell asleep so fast. Artemis still shook her head. I understand, but you can't just be so casual with him. And why not? Sophia pouted cutely at the goddess. Sophia was indeed her most powerful member of her familia, but the reason she isn't the current captain isn't her skills or experience. But she was dense as a brick, but at the same time Sophia is the kindest person she ever met. He isn't our familia member, he will eventually leave. It doesn't mean we can't spend more time with him. Sophia pointed out to her. Fine, but clothes on. Artemis said, knowing that if she simply requests it, it would be better and less headaches in the long run. Thanks. Sophia smiled brightly as if this decision was one Artemis wasn't going to regret. As soon as the morning came, Naruto was sitting away from Artemis from inside the wagon, somewhat a bit unnerved at her glare at him. Did I say something? He asked as the blue-haired woman goddess shook her head. Okay. All he remembered was falling asleep, and it was one of the best ones yet. Sigh, you should be slapped for such ignorance. She stated, although Naruto nodded to her odd reaction. It wasn't the first time someone told him his stupidity should be fixed. There was Lord Hyuga and Anri for starters. Well, I'm going to do my breathing exercises, Naruto said as Artemis watched with odd interest as she saw him, exhaling all of the air from his lungs. 4 seconds of holding before exhaling once more to continue the process. Artemis' eyes slightly narrowed as she felt power coming from him. It was slowly rising upwards and steadily kept growing. A simple breathing pattern can simply boost his powers. Her mind was astonished until Naruto's eyes opened and saw some pain in them. I'd push it, he chuckled, patting his chest as he felt the pain soon vanish. Can't do it when it's not fighting. The young man sighed gently as the goddess mimicked his recent action. Alright. I'll ask, what do you mean? The goddess of hunting requested as the boy seemed to intrigue her oddly enough. Naruto bashfully smiled as the sight was kind of enduring to see for the woman, even though she wouldn't openly admit to it. I have an odd affinity for powers and skill magics for dark-based alignment. The breathing technique I'd learned from my teacher was on the opposite spectrum, a light technique. The young man said as Artemis nodded to that statement. She had heard people having been born from families who have genetic skills or traits that can be passed down. Once, when Anri was still alive, she knew a family who were borderline godly with their fighting abilities and used their own skills against them. Even the youngest member nearly could have snapped her neck, and that was when she wasn't leading a familia. The years now have slightly degraded her skill from back then, but that was when she was more aggressive to all mortals due to being with Anri for so long. You know, Anri had an odd trait like that. She could copy people that were the worst scum and use their skills back at them with better results. That made Naruto look at her for that information. It wasn't something that he didn't see. One time when taking Anri to the village nearby the Hyuga clan compound. Along with forcing the woman to wear clothes due to her nudity. But they saw someone trying to cheat Hinata out of her money, only for Anri to use the man's wordplay against him and take his money, or she would tell her father, the one who is a big part of the village, that he stole his daughter the heir's money. I think I saw her doing that one time. I don't remember when. Naruto shrugged. The woman nodded, smiling gently, something Naruto didn't know she was capable of. She was stubborn. Naruto nodded with a goofy smile on his face. Foul mouth. Nudist, Artemis went next, rolling her eyes on Anri's excuse on using her seals to cover her parts. It wasn't like they didn't do the job, but come on. Improper, Naruto grinned widely, knowing her way of speaking and eating wasn't like any kind of divinity that people in the village once believed in holy. But they said together, she was my best friend. Naruto and Artemis looked at each other in surprise. Hey Naruto, want to switch with me? Sophia asked, her head popping from the curtains where he saw Karen holding the reins of the horse. Huh? The young man looked towards the woman in question. Yeah, sure. Hold up. He said, before getting onto the cart. Here. I'll take over. He offered to Karen. No, I got a good speed with these girls. She said, moving her neck to Emma where she was in front. Make sure she doesn't lead us to a cliff. The swordswoman said with a soft giggle as Naruto only looked confused. The girl, not to mention the whole Artemis Familia, knew that Emma would get lost even if she was going in a straight line in the middle of the day, even if there were walls that pointed to the destination. Although it takes about what was it again? Right about 10 times before she stopped getting lost in the area, man, the times they had to go find her were the tough. Go ask her yourself. Okay. Naruto could only furrow his brows in confusion. The young man got off the wagon to walk fast to meet with Emma, who smiled at Naruto, had a good talk with Lady Artemis. She asked as Naruto matched her pace with her. While she was the closest to Naruto, she also was close to her lady, as she was a part of the familia before she was even a full member. For the most part. Naruto shrugged. At least she wasn't hostile this time around. That was oddly weird to hear. The best result from a man talking to Artemis was said man running from the hills holding his junk, so she wouldn't shoot them off with those bending arrow shots she mastered. Seriously? Emma stuttered. It was amazing that her lady could deal with Naruto so far at this point. Yeah, Naruto raised a brow. You make it sound like the best case scenario was impossible. Although watching Emma scratching her cheek then proceeded to look away made him lose some faith, but quickly looked at her feet. They were shifting slightly to the right. Hey, you're going to move the right side if you're not careful. He said, pointing out a fork in the road. We gotta stay left to get to a stream nearby to make the horses take a break. Huh? Oh. I'm sorry. She apologized quickly as she moved the reins to have the horses move left. Now you're starting to bump into me. Naruto said as Emma blushed again. I think I see what Karen meant by leading us off a cliff. Ooh, don't be such a meanie. Emma whined childishly. I'm just saying, it's kinda unique to be a directional challenge even with a clear objective. Naruto teased, smiling even when Emma threw fist at his sides, a small scuffle like a child would do to their sibling when getting embarrassed. Ooh, Naruto, no baka. Baka. Emma cried out in complaint. That's cute, Sophia said as Artemis looked at the spot Naruto was sitting before, slightly wondering what was the feeling she was experiencing. Sorry, Naruto chuckled as Emma's attack stopped. She was puffing her cheeks as tears were at the corner of her eyes. Aka, she huffed, clearly not accepting his apology. Come on, I really didn't mean it like that. Naruto tried to placate the girl. The girl sighed before smirking, at least I'm still a higher level than you. She sing-song out, making Naruto roll his eyes. And would be the next captain of this familia. Alright, hotshot, you don't have to brag all about it. Naruto waved off nonchalantly. But then that second part made him stop and look at her a second time. I'm sorry, what? Next captain. Wow, her eyes became wide from genuine surprise. I never met someone who really didn't know the stuff for adventures or familias. Nonetheless, she looked at the cabin. You met the captain at least once, right? Naruto nodded his head to seeing Rithusa, the captain of the familia, a few times. She is the second in command, which means that if Artemis is busy or sick, we have to deter her guidance. Captains are only chosen by the god or goddess of the familia. Some chose them for their skills and experience, some chose them like Artemis's brother Apollo for stupid reasons. Oh, Naruto looked completely dumbfounded at that statement. So why do you want to be captain? Me and my sister were the core members of the familia when Artemis started it up. Emma started walking next to Naruto, eyes closed and miraculously not heading to another direction as she continued. It was just Sophia, Rithusa, and a few others. She said, fondly remembering the days it was just a few people before more and more came into their familia. Sophia never really cared for the vice captain position, only taking it when it was easier to have it than to reject it. So for always taking care of me, I want to show her that I can stand on my own 2 feet. I see. Naruto nodded after listening to the story. You must have been through a lot to get where you are now. I can understand the sentiment. She nodded to his words. That's my goal. Later, how much longer till Arario? Naruto asked as Artemis came out from the wagon. Usually I can get there in a day at full speed. So was wondering if we were hitting snags. It won't be long. Just a few dozen more miles. Artemis answered the young man. Naruto gave a thumbs up, looking around and saw Oriana. Hey Ori. Wanna spar? All these no monster routes are making me feel bored. He saw the girl suddenly rush towards him with a bright smile. The woman already had her spear in hand, clearly ready to learn from the man who was able to beat someone the whole family couldn't. Well, someone's eager. Naruto chuckled. Alright, but don't come crying to me if you lose. Naruto spread his arms out as black flames spiral around his limbs to show 2 odd blades, the ones he used against Peta. Oriana dashed in, leading her spearhead to Naruto's chest, only for him to kick it upwards before twist his arm to lock his blade underneath the staff while the other stop at her neck. Dead, he said before she turned her back to low sweep his feet, tripping him, letting go her weapon in hopes. All that dash away as Naruto let go of his own weapons to wrap his arms on hers while his legs twisted on her neck. Holy shit, I never thought I could do this in actual fight. Dead, Naruto chuckled with a cocky smile. I'm not done yet, Ori grunted as he tried to pry his legs off of her, but the strength of the boy was on a whole different level. If you'll break your arm before you get me off. Naruto said in a more serious manner when the girl tried to lift his body, a quick tightening on her arm caused her to fall to her knees in pain. Crippled, he said, untangling himself from her arm and next to fall gently to the ground before using a hand to roll on his rear end. 2 deaths and serious injury, Sophia muttered, smiling at Oriana who moaned at her loss. Last time it was 5 deaths and 3 serious injuries. Naruto has been helping the girls, the one who are close or at least are fine with him, to train in matches. At first Naruto would harm the girls only for training, but Artemis has declared no physical fighting between Familia members, oddly enough when Naruto punched Sophia when she pushed him into a serious mood. Now he stops when he is about to harm them, which is still good as he declares the match either dead or crippled to show how serious the match could have been. You've been keeping track. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Ah. What's the point in fighting you with weapons? I'm pretty sure others aren't going to be ill-equipped. She said, pointing at herself. I'm at level 2, joining around after the core members did. I can fight monsters well enough. She complained before moving her head to her goddess. Please Lady Artemis, reconsider letting Naruto use weapons or at the very least strike me. I need more feedback than his 2 responses. Okay, first off, you need to calm down. Naruto placated the girl, surprising Artemis as he seemed more polite than usual. Like when they were alone, she stared into the moonless night, wondering why it was odd for him to be like that. Listen to a story I have. I thought these were the only things I needed and some magic. Naruto started off as he paled comically a second later. Boy, was I wrong. You seriously thought that was the only thing? Emma looked incredulous at the boy. The goddess chuckled, causing everyone to stare at her. Even I admit that seeing how he handles himself against Peta, I think we can let him do that. So you're saying that because I'm cocky or just giving a free buy that has an underlying insult? Naruto deadpanned as Artemis giggling made him both pout and smile at her reaction. Baby steps, she is starting to joke with him. Around the time I left my sensei, I met her in year 2 of my 9 training session. Ignoring the girl's stunned reaction to his dedication of training, he continued on. I had to learn basic hand-to-hand, as my teacher would snap my wrist when I still held onto my weapons, even when losing tons of blood. Whoa, Karen said from the side as she got a plate of food. Wait, you went through 9 training sessions? Eri asked. Just what did she do to you? No, okay. Naruto touched the bridge of his nose. When I had a goal in life, I knew it would be impossible to reach that height. Even though we can barely grasp the edge of it when using all my power and maybe hold it when my fingernails. Back then, I thought my rage and some power was enough. Naruto fondly chuckled on how hot-headed he was. Well, he admits it's still there, but just tempered enough to be a blade for his future enemies. The young took Oriana's spear, ignoring her cries of touching her beloved weapon, to make a stick figure. I've trained in the wilderness and killed stray monsters to get a feeling for fighting. That was about a year. He said, drawing 2 odd symbols on the dirt. Then I heard of this really scary monster in a port town. That's where I met my first sensei. He said, looking at his hands. I underestimated her. She told me not to enter the port town and go back to. Emma looked at Naruto's face as it suddenly gained a pink hue. What? What did she say? Suck on my ma's tits, he muttered out as the girls looked at each other. Why is he acting all meek now? Anyway, acting like I was hot shit like a dumbus I was. I challenge her to a fight. The first one to land blood wins. Naruto said as Oriana chuckled. Let me guess, she won easily. Her words soon lost its jolly nature as her friend's eyes became devoid of life. No, I almost died. He bitterly spat out. I was going to take it easy cause she was a girl, but she, vanished. Like a ghost, then slammed her palm into my lower jaw. When in the air, she was already there staring at my eyes, smirking at my confusion, before flipping her body to a kick to send me to the stone floor. All I remember is a loud ringing, a wet warm feeling from the back of my head, and her beautiful smile. He admitted with a faint blush. All the girls just stared at him with wide eyes. I woke up and she already patched me up with a note saying go home. The child of darkness shrugged. Just like that? Sophia asked. Just like that. But I chased after her and begged her to train me. Wait, we're getting off topic here. The year after I left her, which was my 3rd year, I met a man who taught me that fighting needs more than speed or power. You need dedication to basics and an open mind. Open mind? Oriana said as Naruto nodded. You got power, you got defense, and you got a gutsy aura. That makes you awesome. He winked at her as the girl smiled at his praise. But you're stiff and lack speed. Compared to Emma, you're a boulder and she's a pebble, some pros and cons there. But if you can be more like her, you can smash into your opponents like a boulder. Speed and power. I see, Oriana muttered, taking in his suggestion. I guess I still have a lot to learn. No. He said, standing up to draw a circle on the floor. I just taught you, and the rest of you, how to walk right. The young blonde finished as they were about dozens of small circles around the Lancer user and himself. Artemis and the girls all looked in with interest in their gaze. "Alright, Oriana, take this back," Naruto announced, tossing her the spear, "then stab me when I try to touch you." He then looked at the goddess with a smile and thumbs up. "I promise I will only touch her, no hitting her in appropriate areas. Alright, are you dead before you realized it?" Naruto said, a finger gently touching Oriana's forehead as she paled. She didn't see him, her eyes scanned to see everyone, including the goddess, in shock. They couldn't track him either. "I'll go slower, keep up," he said, jumping to land the dead center of the tiny circles he had made, this time 2 yards this time. Oriana smiled at this, he was double the distance before reading the spear. She glanced down to see her feet were in the circles too. "I almost couldn't follow that," Artemis admitted. "Yeah, it's like he teleported," Emma commented. "No, he moved with no waste." Everyone turns to see Sophia, no longer dazed or even happy, but a serious look in her eyes. Normally this was for the serious times of the battles they had fought, like Petter against other familias. To see their vice captain acting like this made the others now take this more earnestly. "Ready?" Naruto waved at Oriana, "You can move if you think that better for victory, just stay inside the circle." Oriana's eyes widen as once more she can only see blurs of Naruto, this time the distance was to her advantage. She jumped back looking at two circle, perfect for her defensive stance. "You're too slow." Her eyes widened when she landed on circle, quickly swiping her weapon to look at Naruto. "Eddie," said, using one leg to balance himself with a hand with all the fingers straightened out like a blade. The young maiden took a step back to allow Naruto to stand up. "Did you notice it this time?" To her shame, Oriana shook her head. "I did not. How could you move like that and still trick me?" she asked. She was sure, as the moon is lovely at night, that her timing and even Naruto's direction were in sync. In fact, that he was literally under her attack proved that remark. "You'll have to figure that out," Naruto teased. "You used your weight to do it," Sophia said before she too vanished, causing Naruto to awe. The young man summoned his jagged weapon at her before her finger could touch his shoulder. His eyes showed only vengeance before realization sparked life into them, fading the weapon into wisps of smoke. "Sorry." Artemis felt something in her hand, to glance down in slight shock to find her bow already in her clutches. Was that moment so intense she was about to intervene against Sophia? Not many knew these save for herself, the captain, and most likely Emma, but Sophia is the ace of their familia. When flipping her serious switch, not many could match her skills, even Peta died the most by her hands until he wore her out in the end. Artemis only wished that she could find a way to flip it more often, as it was the only time Sophia could think like a normal person than her space case self. Not that she hates it, but the core members hated drilling in common sense into her head. Anri was naked by choice, Sophia constantly forgot to dress herself until a few years ago. Soon Naruto was greeted by the older girl petting his head. "You're strong, never forget that." She sweetly praised the young man who blushed at her kind words. Thank you," he mumbled. "That style isn't based on any Eastern style," Artemis announced before gazing at her ally, Naruto. "Where did you learn it?" Naruto shrugged. "Don't ask me, my dad taught my uncle Hiyashi. He said that if it wasn't for my dad, their fighting style wouldn't have improved to such greatness. My first teacher told me that in Anri also." "Oops," he said, covering his mouth on that busted Anri. Artemis is starting to wonder something. Anri hated humans, and learning why made sense. But this child worms into her heart and becomes her friend, not that there's a problem with it. But learning magic, fighting, and even some things that adventurers should know. Why? Why him? Breathing styles that help his speed and stamina, the type of footwork that makes him almost fast as Sophia. Magic only dedicated spellcasters can learn. No human can learn all those skills in such short of time, not even the most battle-tested warriors or god. No way. Oh. Naruto smiled as he picked up a stiff Oriana as she overdid her training. "Told you, not all at once," he said, gently picking her foot, and walked like she was some kind of toy. When reaching her tent, he placed the young knight on it. "Sleep tight." Naruto, your shift is open." Emma yawned as she and Karen came from the campfire. "Sophia is watching and guarding Artemis and the treasure. You're on night watch for monsters with Leo, switch after 2 hours." "Got it." Naruto waved to her, walking to the campfire to see Leo. The person in question had short blue hair with gray eyes, as they wore gray shirts with a dirty brown jacket over them that stopped at their midriff, having a red outline and green edges at the sleeve. The look was finished with gunmetal gray pants held together by a brown belt with silver greaves. "Naruto," she said with a curt nod as Naruto took a seat on a tree stump. "You sure that you want to take the first shift? All that training might make you sleepy." "It's fine, man, shit," Naruto said as he practically insulted the woman in front of him. "I'm sorry. I completely forgot you were a girl." Man, she. "Thank you, Anri." Naruto bowed his head in love and gratitude that Leo was also an airhead. "Nothing, so what level are you?" "This," Leo said with a single finger that was out. "I just joined with that new elf girl Primo." "Oh, I see." You're just starting out. Naruto nodded. She nodded, smiling. I want to see someone in Arario, the reason I wanted to be an adventurer. Someone? Who would that be? Naruto tilted his head in curiosity. It's embarrassing, she said as Naruto nodded. He too had some shyness in his love for Anri. He took a small cloth out, unwrapping it to show a small amount of cookies. Need a pick-me-up? Hinata's mother taught me to make my Aka-sen's favorite cookies. Are they good? Hinda, but I can see why my mother likes them. Naruto grinned widely. Leo eyed the cookies before taking one and biting it, letting the flavor settle on her tongue, and she chewed. This isn't bad. I think it's a Western cookie called shortbread. He said, enjoying the crumbling in his mouth. That explains why it tastes like bread. Leo commented. Buttery taste to it. It was simple talk and meeting, but Naruto made another good friend from just that. The next morning, sure, go hunt a bear I said. Naruto grumbled as he walked the first in hopes of catching a large meal, as it would mean enough energy to get to the city faster when their stomachs were filled more than usual simple light meals. But no, they had to go kill a freaking bear. Or at least him, the rest were making the meals he suggested as a side, but now it means he has to hunt, and if he doesn't come back he won't eat. Man, women are scary. You sounded like a boar. Naruto smiled, it tasted better than a bear if it was an adult and active. I guess boar will be on the menu instead. Ah. The young eyes turned sharp as he heard a female voice in pain. Come, he said as his blade summoned into his hand to rush forward to see Artemis lightly injured as the boar was about to gore her with its tusks. Artemis gritted her teeth as she drew an arrow and stretched the bow. She was about to release when Naruto threw one of his blades towards the boar, skewering it from the side. The boar squealed in pain before it tumbled on the ground, eventually coming to a stop and laying lifeless. You alright, he said, checking on her to see the injury was on her leg, but it was light someplace to other injuries he sustained. It's nothing. Artemis said, I was about to kill it. Naruto nodded, but he had to voice out something. Yeah, but would you have been able to shoot that arrow in time? Naruto retorted. She glared at him, whether it was he was insulting her skills or from his truth he didn't know. Glare at me all you like, but you need to be more careful from now on, yeah. Naruto waved off nonchalantly. I can take care of myself. Artemis huffed. Why risk death? Naruto asked in a confused tone. Who cares about proving something, you have others to think about. Her eyes gazed at his own, wondering what he meant. What do you mean? You have a familia, don't you? Naruto asked. Are you seriously going to throw your life and leave them behind? The young woman lowered her gaze. I didn't consider that. The Avenger simply kneels before her. Unlike Anri, they both went silent when the name was brought up. You have people that need you, if the unfortunate event that would happen. They would have to scatter from their home. Naruto closed his eyes. He wanted to find out if others were alive back at the Hyuga compound, but he had to focus on training. To kill Phantom and abandon all thoughts of survivors, he wondered how many did survive that fire. All wants and ifs constantly plague his mind for years, like a bad addiction habit he kicks only to rear its ugly head every now and then. Then again, he always likes that, he leaves so he wouldn't see the outcome. When his first sensei told him to leave when telling her his reason for getting stronger, never visiting his second sensei when he felt he learned enough but couldn't tell him why he wanted his lessons. You'll make them sad. He said, remembering his own pain of losing his home and dear friend. However, he was surprised to see that Artemis didn't yell or argue with him, just glared at the ground for her own mistake. But then what should I do? Stop fighting. Just laze around like Ishtar in her little palace of debauchery. She demanded to see Naruto come closet with a soft smile that made her hear something odd happened to it. You can still be strong, just don't put yourself at risk. Remember that you have more value than what you think and don't make your familia sad. The young man said as the woman lowered her head with a soft smile. And if you do need to work on your bow, I am offering myself as a target. HM. Artemis didn't help but giggled at the kind gesture. Can you stay? It takes a while to bleed out and gut the boar, Artemis asked as Naruto nodded. I would like to share some stories on Anri if you like, as long as you tell me how she was before you know. Naruto nodded, taking a knife to pass it to his friend. Sure, hope you like how Anri often causes trouble to idiot males. The smile she sent Naruto was the second most beautiful smile in the whole world in his opinion. Arario Gates, we're here. Emma said, entering the wagon to see Naruto and Artemis who were finishing up their conversation. Okay, he replies to the pink-clad girl before looking at Artemis. We'll finish that story on. The goddess rolled her eyes. Adelante. He snaps his fingers in confirmation. Yes. With that he leaped off the wagon to see himself in the gates of the city he recently popped in and out. This time he was going to have some fun as he was given a small amount for saving all the lives of Artemis's familia. Woo. Time to have some fun, or my name isn't Naruto. But before he could, Artemis grab onto his collar. Wait, we need to get you a non-familia adventurer license. The goddess stated with a soft glare. Otherwise you'll get into trouble heading into the dungeon and get caught. The young man nodded to her words, but noticed her more conflicted look. What? Who might need you for the gods and goddesses meeting? Naruto blinked on Satwisithris. What? Was all Naruto could say, earning everyone looking at him oddly. Phantom smiled as he stood over a certain mound of dirt. Soon a blue white-haired teen walked next to him. Lord Phantom, Orochimaru-sama has given his findings to be the grave of her. The red-eyed teen turned as his eyes now became a soft light amethyst-colored irises. Thank you, Kabuto-kun. But he spun on his heels to see the young man still staying. Something amiss? You know, it's not my place to say. The young man said as Phantom used his unbandaged arm to wave him off in a friendly manner. Nonsense, speak your mind, you are strong and I am strong. We can speak like equals. The god-hater said in a happy manner. Kabuto took a moment to be slightly flustered. For many years Phantom was too depressed from thinking Naruto was dead. Suddenly he has been hunting for new allies left and right, high and low, far and close by. I wanted to know, why didn't you kill all the children and people in his village? You said I said weak didn't need to live. Phantom said, chuckling as he used his free hand to cup his chin. I would have killed them, although the Hyuga heiress, her sister, many of the children, and the rest were going to be fine additions. After all, a traumatizing experience is a good way to give them a reason to be stronger. And when they reach their potential, I will be there to tempt them with eternal life and untapped power seas, and Naruto shall join me to be with his friends forever. Kabuto nodded before looking as the mound started to move. She's awakened. The leader merely nods softly. Of course, anyone else besides the strong wouldn't be able to survive the process. Thankfully her body was still fresh enough to be able to recover. He stood in front as a hand slow came into sight. I need more of Naruto's closest people, and those who will make him stronger, and with his teacher, I will have a fine amount of women to cater to his desires. He said, grabbing the hand and gently pulling it out. As a woman in western clothing rose from the grave to glare at the man, as a red and blue flame tattoo appeared on her neck that made Phantom smile eerily, as he now has another friend to add into his family. Welcome to the family. Near Arario, a cloak-covered female walked as two of her escorts followed her. You know what to do, girls. She said as the two stopped their steps when they turned to look at their master. Seduce Naruto into your familia. The young girl shook her head with a soft giggle. Our familia, our little home for Naruto to stay with women who need to heal this heart. Right, a rough female voice said. Fucking love the kid. The master of the two nodded, also to look out on potential members to persuade into our little family. She watched the two vanish as they would enter the city at different gates to find Naruto faster. Lady K, don't speak my name so freely, Sasori, she turns with a dark tone underlying her cute voice. The young woman saw a dashing handsome man in front of her. He wore a skin-tight shirt that only covered his upper body and neck, leaving his arms totally bare as it had bandages all over them. He had a black pants with some metal plates for protection. He quickly got on one knee. My deepest apologies, madame, but might I ask you a question? Very well, she muttered with an annoyed tone. Why Naruto? He simply said, afraid he said more, that he will no longer be able to serve as a living mortal. She looked up into the sky. I want him to be pampered. That bitch made him into a monster, just like she was. She stuck out her tongue with eye roll. And even after her filthy hands touched my beloved Ani-sama was so perfect. Closing her eyes to remember I was lost, he found me and comforted my distraught heart. I will make sure he is mine and mine alone with the questions and find him, Sasorno. The man smiled kindly. Of course, my goddess of desires. But that he also vanished, allowing the girl to take over her cloak to reveal her crimson-colored eyes to the world, smiling as the day to find her beloved savior was here. At this moment Naruto felt a really scary feeling in his heart, even though he was happy. Chapter end. Chapter start. Naruto and Artemis walked on the streets of Arario, as the group of her familia were also tagging along. The young black-clad man seems uncomfortable at what Artemis stated earlier on the way here. She needs him to speak at the deities meeting other gods. She met a few that demanded the young man to join their familia. The boy wasn't really looking for a place to stay permanently, not until Phantom is dead, and he can then rest without dragging others into his problems. Maria, Naruto whispered, not realizing Artemis looked back about to sternly tell him off to stop at his forlorn look. The woman goddess stopped as she saw someone standing in front of a building. Naruto saw it was a red-haired woman. Her stoic look on her face as she then spotted them, her demeanor did not change in the slightest before walking towards them. Artemis Familia? She politely asked as the goddess nodded with a small smile. Naruto didn't need to guess that she was anything but the guild worker, given how polite she was polite with them. We have arrived. I believe the letter I sent explains why we had to come a month later and cancel the usual timeline. The goddess of the moon stated as the woman nodded, as Naruto just realized the top of her head was a cute pair of werewolf ears. Red-haired was something he was always a bit of attractive Tophet, and pink oddly enough, maybe it was just a lighter version of red. Artemis, as Naruto watched from the side, as the woman nodded, we have alerted the others and it has been handled. Due to your long-time patronage here, we won't take unnecessary funds from the accident you had. Still, we need your written word so we can make a warning for others heading to your area." The goddess nodded before looking back at the women. "Very well, everyone unload the magic stones and do what you want. Today is special. We will stay for a few nights for both the meeting and also the shopping. Take priorities first off. Weapons, items, armor first on the list. Food and other luxuries will be on the last day or on the way of our leaving. Right, Lady Artemis?" They all stated without pause before the goddess turned back to the guild representative. She quickly and without any problems grabbed the young man who helped her, pulled him in front of the red-haired woman, him to get license. The red-haired woman looked a bit stunned, given her slightly alarmed eyes. "Are you permitting him to join your familia?" Soon others adventurers, newer experienced, all stop in their tracks to hear this. They all heard on the social distant Artemis familia, given some males often tried to join for the possible harem they often think they will get. To see one, at least not cover in arrows, was something rather interesting. As many who did were so traumatized by the events they often never mess with women again. The blue-haired woman let out a soft sigh. "No, did save us though. The man who almost killed our whole familia was ended by this young man. Normally I would just let him live and be done with him, but he risked his life as they were after him and ever far as to try to lure the man away." She stated, making sure to let the others hear of his exploits. Henry Angra would have done the same thing possible like this. "Listen, this kid possibly can murderalized all of y'all in an instant. Wanna know why? Cause I beep say so." A chibi version of Angra mind you said with snake-like tongue slither out and with kanji for evil behind her. Trulish had a way with words. Ignoring her low blow to her deceased friend, who she knew would be okay with a joke in death, Artemis Konatun, "No doubt the next words will shake the town. I would like to sponsor him as a non-familiar license adventurer. I would have no qualms on any crimes or mistakes he will make on behalf of my word." Everyone, besides Naruto and her familia, all became stunned at the words that left her mouth. The reason for this was because only few ever have the courtesy of such a rare way to join the adventuring world. Non-familia adventurer was something once in a blue moon, as familia grew more in size and often wanted the best. They were any adventurers that have that license. It doesn't grant any special perk or anything good, in fact some might say it was worse. As non-familia they are alone, having no backing of allies or even a god. To check their status is only done once by the guild as per requirement to see their stats. Limited everything to be honest, which is why many familias want them, ignoring the reason why they were given non-familia licenses, only to prove their worth. Many were legends, often going alone in dungeons and not only surviving, but thriving in a place many would consider hell. Many try to do this without proving their mettle the usual way, getting a guild member to allow. Thistedly the end result was lots of nameless adventurers dying. The fact that the usual way is now banned shows how rare the feat is, but for top familia such as Artemis, whose girls are stronger than most of the usual adventurers in the city, rang bells. She and her familia were saved by a stranger who not only took on the challenge, but even got the usual man-hater goddess to vouch for him as well. Many already left to inform their gods about this. The last two non-familia adventurers died rather young and sadly didn't join, even though some were given tremendous offerings to entice them. No doubt this was going to be something fun in the next few hours. However, the red-haired woman nodded. "Very well, please come inside," she declared, moving towards the building. The young man and goddess followed her inside as Naruto took a quick glance to look at the area. It is a wide space with counters for adventurers to talk with their advisors and also has an exchange area. There are also small meeting boxes where adventurers can talk one-on-one with their advisor without anyone else hearing them. Aside from that, there is a library area. The non-familia guild member will be the one helping you. I shall help the others count the amount of money we shall give your familia, Lady Artemis. She bowed kindly, leaving the two at the counter where the two were alone, ignoring all the constant talking and looks the two receive. After this we need to head for the gods meeting hall. It's somewhere we usually don't let humans in. Artemis started nudging Naruto to see the coffin they were hauling was also being taken into the guild. "However, I need you there to show credibility in case I'm like Apollo would challenge my standing." Naruto nodded, understanding, but at the same time his mind was wondering. It wasn't like him to dwell on such things. "Excuse me," the young mind was snapped back to reality to see a lovely woman in front of him, behind the counter. She was a dark-skinned young woman with green eyes. She wore very formal attire consisting of a long-sleeved, high-collared dress shirt and skirt, along with a pair of long earrings and high-heel sandals. She wore her light gray hair pulled back into a bun with two bangs that fall on either side of her face. A lovely yet professional look on her face. "Hello, are you the one I am supposed to help license?" Giving a look to Artemis, she gave a small nod to confirm his thoughts. After watching the two, the woman spoke, her tone friendly but also polite. "Good, I am Mabui. I handle the tasks for non-familiar licenses, although it's my first time." That made Artemis raise an eyebrow. Is that true? Wasn't there others?" "Yes, but that when I was at school." The ebony woman states with a frown that only showed her worries if she said something wrong. My predecessor recently left for her calling, something about he loved returning. Her words muttered before shaking her head and being reminded that work comes first. Yes, the last non-familiar license to be distributed was 15 years ago. My predecessor only left their second names, Vermilion Nova and Sun Wrath. Both didn't notice a small smile on Naruto's face, so how do we do this? The woman picked up a small bottle and small papers next to it, all we need is some blood along with this. She pointed to the stack of papers, due to some criminals using this to hide, we just need to see if the papers from other cities have bounties on you. So blood-packed? Naruto surmised. Of course, he wasn't surprised by it. The woman shook her head, just a precaution, still she had already nicked Naruto's finger to let some blood droplets stain the papers to smile at the result. They all stayed red, you're clear, we can do the paperwork. Name? Naruto Uzumaki. He refrained using his other last name in case some people might connect things that shouldn't be out yet. The woman nodded before quickly, almost like lightning itself, was writing the rest, as if the writing was already there to begin with. Alright, I need you to expose your Omai Mabui said with a blush coming over her face, as Naruto already took off his armor and upper clothing to show his muscles. Artemis's eyes widened as he had a few scars nearly all over his body, but his muscles were so well toned in all the right places. But the fact some of the scars were unique, some like a sunburst one on his chest, another with a curved yet jagged one near his left side, made her slightly concerned. Those weren't monster attacks as only few can do that to a person. Naruto exposed his back as Mabui shook her head out of her stupor. Moving her hand she placed a small drop of God's blood to see his status, eyes widening as his stats were impressive. But still, unlike normal familiar licenses, he would still have to start out like everyone else. Stats noted, license for non-familiar adventurer, she said, taking out another piece of blank paper before stamping it with a seal of the guild. Approve. She said as the parchment soon shrank down to size to show a small card, showing Naruto's face. She lifted it off and presented it to the young man. Congratulations, you are my first adventurer when it comes to non-familiar adventurers. She stated with a slightly large smile, I hope you and I would work well together. Thank you. Naruto bowed slightly as he gratefully accepted the card. Nothing else needed to be said. Mabui looked confusingly, don't you need, she started about to give him the starter adventure items, only for him to flash her his two odd twin blades. I already got it covered. He said as the young man already donned his armor and clothing once more. Artemis nodded to Mabui, no doubt once again telling her that he was worthy enough to start his journey without his help. Leaving the building, the two watched as the others also walked out, all smiles came out as the two gave each other dubious looks at their friends' familiar smirking faces. Something amiss. The goddess said before Emma practically skipped to her leader and presented her a piece of paper that showed how much they made. It took a few moments for Artemis to register the amount, is this correct? Emma's eyes lost their joy for a bit as she looked confused. Yes, I believe so. Why? This seems a little much. Naruto looked over the girl's shoulders to see the number was about nearly 2 million valis. The young man had to keep his mouth shut or else it would fall to the ground. I guess we need to spend as many as we can, the treasury only holds so much and we can't afford to bring more than we need for emergency funds or else being targets for bandits. Artemis said, missing the girl's hopeful smiles for extra shopping funds. That's fine by me. Naruto shrugged. It's not like we're gonna spend it all in one day. The goddess nodded before looking at the sky. I believe it's enough time that I sent to the guild to alert the other gods near and far to hear this meeting. Naruto, you must come with me. She declared, taking his hand towards the tower that held the special rooms for war games that gods can watch from. The young pulled her hand away so he could make the stairs stop. It didn't. Well, Naruto's ears perked up when he heard a female voice from his side. He turned. Oof. The young man grunted in pain when he was slammed into a wall. Whoa, bad touch. He shouted while turning red when a knee was between his legs and his groin, along with the effect of the part slowly grinding in place did not help. Okay, seriously, who's touching me? Oh shit. The girl standing before him made him blush and pale at the same time, was a fair-skinned girl with a slender build. She had brown eyes that were accentuated by her eyelashes extending into the corners of her eyes and was usually sporting an impassive expression on her face, although this one was full of wanton desire for something. The most distinctive feature was her long, untamed, dark pink-red hair that fell past her shoulders with long parted bangs, framing either side of her face and one between her eyes. Naruto gluped loudly as the girl leaned in close. Titaya, he whispered, both from fear and slight relief. She was one of the children that also lived nearby Hinata's mansion and sadly also burned to the ground thanks to Phantom. On top of which she was his childhood bully. Artemis looked at the two, unsure to interrupt her, not giving Naruto weak smiles and Taiya's lustful one. Long time no see, Naruto. I knew you were still kicking, she declared, lifting her hand to caress his cheek. Why yeah, been a while. Naruto laughed nervously, and I'm also, gah. Naruto whimpered when the girl licked his cheek. Awawawa. The poor boy sadly looked like Hinata when she and him saw each other naked when he entered the bath when she was also using it. Being raised by traditionalists like Hyugas made him also quite weak to the opposite sex when being so boldly, like how Taiya kissed his cheek and lightly blew on his ear, clearly in some twisted way of enjoyment of his reactions. "Stop!" Naruto shouted, pushing the girl away from him, trying to stop his heart from imploding yet again. Typical Naruto, you're so easily teasable. The red-haired girl declared, still amused on his frown and clearly embarrassed blush. "You are relentless." Naruto breathed heavily, trying to catch his breath. "You haven't changed at all. Like the time I tried to make you kiss me to get back your snacks that Lady Hyuga made for you?" She smiled as the young pouted, he hated how she kept bullying him like that. Always taking his snacks to get it back for kissing, she always wrestles him down to the ground and won't let him go until he calls her cute or something. Still, it wasn't like it was all mean, she did have a good side here and there. She walked towards him, her body and breast on his own, using her left hand to circle around his strong broad chest. "Hey, wanna go on a date? You kinda owe me for thinking you were dead for this long." "I don't." Before Naruto was going to stop her, once again he met his friend Wall. It was good that Wall had his back. Bad jokes aside, Naruto blushed as the woman leaned in slowly. Taiya, I don't, can't, please don't." Him. Artemis cleared her throat, gaining their attention. "Naruto, care to explain who this is?" "Secret passageway out." Naruto hurried to her side as he lightly chuckled, "Hehe, sorry Taiya-san. But Lady Artemis needs me." "Come on, let's go," he said, obviously far too eager to leave as the girl stood by. Her eyes flashed pink for a moment. Taiya sighed, knowing her leader was going to be pissed off. "Fuck, bitch took my man meat away. Lady is going to be happy with this," she declared, walking away in hopes to get the other objective, besides getting Naruto to do it. "Mind telling nope." Artemis took a double take when Naruto suddenly said that in embarrassment as the girl shrugged it off. Although she felt a dark feeling on how that woman was acting so disgraceful. Soon they arrived in a large tower, Babel Tower. They saw a man standing in front of them. "Naruto, mind helping me bury a body later?" The way she asked made Naruto feel a bit scared as she was asking sweetly like he was her friend and completely forgetting the fact he has a tool in his pants. The man before them was something Naruto admitted was a very handsome individual. Artemis eyed out before slightly nodding her head to acknowledge the man before them. "Honor to see you again, Hermes." Hermes has blonde hair and orange eyes. He wears a feathered hat, red cloak above his orange jacket, and blue leather armor around his waist was leather belt done in diagonal style. Naruto took his body type closer to being slender and of medium height with skinny arms. He also has a sort of effeminate look and overwhelming charm. "Why hello there Artemis," Hermes greeted with a smile. "A pleasure to see you too, and oh, who's this?" he said, looking at Naruto. "This is the young man who helped my familia when the crisis happened. I wish to have him attend the meeting or the least have him wait in a room when I need him." The goddess demanded as her eyes glared into Hermes' own. "Or I can tell the very few goddesses and gods about a certain man who tried peeping on me and Angra mine you when we bathed." The man lifted his arms with a weak smile, trying no doubt to keep her calm now, no need to be hasty. Hermes placated the goddess. True enough, it wasn't his smartest decision in his life, but come one the walking nudist Angra mine you and the virgin goddess Artemis in the same watering hole bathing. Many gods and other mortals all joined in that effort, only to lose so many to Angra's traps, and then only got teased when all they saw were illusions of the two, when both hugs tied them. Along with leaving them strung up where wild boars were trying to knock them down by attempting to break their trees. Man, that was a horrible time to shirk off work. Golden rule. Never do something like peeping where you can pay for it in the red light district. Well, I suppose it's not a problem. Hermes cleared his throat in order to compose himself and forget about the incident. Also, his eyes slightly turned serious as he looked at her. "That coffin had something I could not believe." Artemis nodded, leading Naruto to the tower as she made sure to tightly hold his hand. "I want you to keep your mouth shut. Many would hound you for this, as much as you joining a familia is tempting. I don't want them to tear yours to pieces when learning what you did to that man." Naruto could only nod silently as the two entered a large open-aired room. It was the place for only gods to enter in Babel Tower. The part where you only see pillars is where the deities of the city gather for wargame matches and meetings. Naruto already saw many of the gods already here, some raising eyebrows or looking shocked to see him, or possibly the likely reason, Artemis. Artemis looked at the seat at the lowest floor. Naruto knew it was her telling him to take the seat as Moon Goddess went to the center. Looking around if the majority have arrived yet. "Is this seat taken yet?" A young voice asked from his side. Naruto turned his head to see a cloak girl, but got a glimpse of red. He didn't speak as to his friend's wishes before letting her know his answer from a nod. "Thanks, Ani-sama." Odd, besides Hanabi only one other girl called him that, but he was sure that she lived at. "My fellow gods and goddesses." Artemis started addressing when the full amount of deities have arrived at the meeting. I will be first to say my gratitude for taking the time to come here. She bowed kindly before lifting her back up. We have some dire news. Ooh. Maybe the fact you have a boy at last, virgin goddess. A woman who has brown skin and is well endowed. She wears revealing attire similar to that of Amazonesses, consisting of a single red-orange piece of cloth around her neck that barely covers her breasts and a matching perio around her waist that reaches down to her ankles. Also, like all Amazons, she always goes barefoot. For jewelry, she wears golden bracelets, anklets and necklaces, along with a crown at the top of her head, with several jewels in the center. The goddess of the red light district, Ishtar. Angraminyu is deceased and has been killed by someone. The woman started slowly as many gods' eyes widened at the declaration. Even some like Ishtar, a woman who usually never attends these boorish meetings, looked shaken at the core. To kill a god was something beyond the normal levels of idiocy. To be a god killer was something that didn't affect you, it affected the whole world and race of deities. Even to a god who spent her life wandering from one place to the next was just as bad as killing one who was the pillar of a city. Preposterous. Impossible. One god shouted in rage. How could this be? A man known as Phantom has done the deed, not only killing my friend Angraminyu. A god who specializes in killing humans no less, but also made an attempt on my life and my familia. She stated as the others began to murmur from the woman's words. This man who belongs to Phantom's little group has easily taken down my familia in mere hours. A hand raised across from her, Artemis had to bite down on her own tongue to not send a scolding sneer at the god who stopped her. A tall handsome man with red hair and wavy locks gliding over one another and a smile described as equally brilliant. He also wears a green laurel wreath on his head. Are you pulling our legs? I do admit that my familia might be the strongest in the land, but your familia are born from the land that spits out monsters daily. Surely one man wasn't that hard for you to beat. I assure you Apollo, this is no joke. Artemis glared at him. This shakes the very foundation of what we gods and goddesses have established since the beginning, and I refuse to let this person be the end of it. Again, I believe you are just. Thud. Apollo nearly threw up his lunch that his adorable children made for him as he stared into the top half of the man Naruto cut many weeks ago. Peta, the one who nearly ended Artemis' familia, the pale man's eyes darted around until landing at Naruto who was just visibly shaken at the sight. He stopped, his eyes went dead and lost its color. Hermes was next as he was the one who unceremoniously showed them the horrid sight, no doubt stopping him in mid-rant was going to be the only way he would take notice. What in heaven's name was that? The normally prideful man demanded as Artemis spoke with a dark calmness to it. What you see is something even I haven't seen in centuries, a vampire, an immortal one at that. She said, pulling up the robe to see the red flesh that the man had, despite being slashed in half by this young man weeks before coming here. The hunting goddess said, gesturing towards Naruto as the god stared at him. He is still alive, partial that is. I learned that Naruto used a powerful curse unknowingly to suppress this power of regeneration, otherwise we would have died the night we rested up, considering that his lower body was nearly a foot away from trying to join the main one. Some who were like Apollo, only thinking it was a joke, now fully listened to this woman's tale. A man who killed a goddess, a secret group trying to indoctrinate strong members into this god killer's team, and even taking in a vampire, one of the most deadliest of the races, shows they want a war. Artemis declared with anger in her words, from the heinous crimes that have been done. We cannot overlook this and let one or the other die. If you think avoiding this will spare you. It will not. This man told me that he was going to help exterminate all the gods, with the help of she stopped knowing that he wanted Naruto and Emma to be part of this group. Of more power warriors. We all need to be vigilant, we all share information no matter how small or even rumors, that is what we get. The words of the goddess resonated in the room as she saw the looks of the gods no doubt shaken, that someone would be so brazen as to target the very if any of my girls learns of this phantom, I shall tell the guild to relay to you all. Ishtar said, as much as I do not want to be involved, the fact that this man is willing to exterminate Angraminyu shows me enough to at least speak if something is up. This made everyone look at the one who was most likely to not lend a finger to help. This causes Apollo to look away with some shame, before trying to smile proudly. He couldn't allow himself to be stained with not also lending his almighty hands. Well, if what you say is true, Artemis, Apollo began, as he tried to compose himself. It can't be helped. If this person is threatening our very existence, then I shall endorse the effort to have this threat be neutralized immediately. No. Artemis stated, eyes turning wide at the suggestion, do not engage the enemy. Peta had this odd power to recover himself easily. I have no doubt that it was something that belonged to him exclusively, the ability to drain people's blood was something that the legend of vampires were easily figured out. But the fact we killed him, even if technically, 30 times. Hermes was the one to speak, home turf only, if you find anybody who works for this phantom let us know. Attack only to defend yourselves, and if that does happen, send a few members to any close by familia, and so on and so forth. Even if they have 10 members all at once, I doubt facing hundreds won't be enough to capture them. The gods all spoke and soon they all became slightly happy, no doubt Artemis' smile also came from the unity of her "what if" child is working with Phantom. Artemis's eyes tried to locate the person who said that, and there behind her was no other than a mysterious smirking beauty. Freya. Artemis scowled at the sight of the woman, she and Anri never liked this one. Anri barely hated the gods, but for some reason always distrusted the woman before her. The woman in question was no doubt about that is superior and outstanding even among the gods. She has long silver hair, purple eyes, and white skin like that of fresh snow. She has a perfect golden ratio, enough to think that the golden ratio originated from her. Her clothes are in large part black and red, they expose most of her stomach and breasts. She also wears 2 flower-like ornaments in her hair. I dare not try to slander the young man's name, but what if he was indeed working for them? She coolly stated as some gods started to look at Naruto with distrust. I mean, using a curse, one that seems to work while most spells couldn't, seems very suspicious. He is not. Artemis denied her, unable to understand any reason she would even insinuate that suggestion. However, she stopped as the only human slowly getting up at the meeting. I don't care what you say. Naruto said, glaring at the woman standing up proudly, if it makes you happy, hang me by the neck till I am dead. The dark-clad man stated as the gods all looked stunned at his words. Cause I want that bastard Phantom dead. Naruto, I told you to keep your mouth shut. Artemis scolded the young man. But his eyes darted to Artemis made her step back. There was nothing but raw hate and vengeance in those pupils, as if the abyss was staring at her. She involuntarily swallowed her saliva as her throat felt dry. Those eyes were like Anri when someone thought she would one day make a familia in her hearing range, not knowing her rage towards humans. I will not stand by and let someone dare think I am with that bastard Phantom. Not after what he did to Anri or my hometown. Lifting a shaking fist in hopes to quell his anger if only slightly. Freya smiled at his words, no doubt starting to see him as intriguing. Before she spoke, Hermes stepped in. Why don't we see his memories? That should clear up any suspicions on him. The dark-dressed woman nodded to that idea graciously. Yes, I can accept that. The handsome god looked at Naruto, lowering his raised hand. Alright. Might I have your permission to do so? He asked as his eyes showed he was trying to help Naruto clear his name. Naruto sighed to nod. A light sit down, and I shall use my powers first off, Uranus. Might I have the permission to use my powers? Permission granted. Naruto remembered the night you Hermes didn't finish as the whole room looked up to see the ceiling show that it was the sight of watching Peta smiling. That's new, he muttered as the sight usual was a portal or sphere. Damn it, this guy is so strong. Almost as strong as Sensei when I fought her. Naruto's voice, mostly likely his thoughts, echoed in the area. Still the view rushed in when Naruto first made contact with Peta's jaw. I won't let others die because of you or Phantom. His thoughts yelled out his inner emotions. They all watched the battle, listening to Naruto memories of when he fought against Peta. No way such anger and hate would allow him to join them. Soon they watched a view of Naruto. I will protect them this time. Freya's eyes widened as she saw it. It was something that made her heart tremble. Okay, I think what the hell, Hermes said, trying to stop the memory as the things started to rewind back, soon passing the battle with Peta. Showing how Naruto was spending time with Artemis Familia, meeting Emma, and even before that. Stop. It now shows Naruto nearly shirtless as he was covered in his battle wounds and blood before looking at a monster. Raising his hand before with incredible speed and power, slap, slap, slap. Proceeded to slap the living hell out of the beast so fast at times it looked like it was in slow-mo. Are you sorry yet, he said after slapping the 20th time in a row. I think I peed a little. The beast weakly said from the amount of pain he was in. Hermes again lifted his hands trying to shut it off, showing more funny moments that the gods couldn't help but laugh. But someone said something as Naruto's memories kept juggling about, show him at his lowest. Artemis looked towards where Naruto was sitting and saw no one there. Wasn't there a god who sat there with Naruto? How many sunrises does that make it? Everyone watched and saw the eyes of Naruto became blurry as it soon regained focus as dozens of men and women were on the floor defeated. 7, he whispered to himself, at least 7 days have passed since the onslaught of enemies have come at them. We did it. He said, looking into the distance where silver smoke signals were being shot into the sky to show that the victory was. I'm afraid it's not over quite yet. The eyes soon darted to the sound where the voice came as sand gathered around the area as 3 people came into view. A man, who was most likely Peta, whose face was covered in his mask, stood next to Peta. A female, given her attire and body, her appearance consists of a strapless leotard, one-legged grey tights, a grey stocking, combat boots, stockinged gauntlets, and a military cap. Like Peta, she wore a mask that only had 2 dark holes for her to see out of and red marks on the upper right side and lower left side. But standing before them was Thomas, or rather better known as Phantom, the man who killed Anri. The man looked the same as the day he burned his home to the ground. Phantom was a tall, lean young man with lavender hair and lilac-colored eyes. His bang grew past his face and covered his right side of his face. The killer wore a blue sleeveless fitted shirt and pants with a white sash that wrapped around his waist and flared out like a half-skirt. The sash would slung across his chest and cover his entire left arm in a form of cast. However, his eyes are now a hazy blue-purplish color now then just red. A smile graced his face. My word, they were just candidates to join my little group, but you took them out no less in a few days with little to no rest. In just a year since killing Angraminu, you've grown strong. He took a step back, turned his head as the other two were going to follow, to stand there with a calm smile. The young god slayer returns his gaze at Naruto, lifting his unbound hand. So what do you say? It's not the most ideal place I wanted to start this off. Phantom's eyes narrowed down with obvious interest clear on his face. Why don't we have a little sparring practice here now? The vision of Naruto soon became drenched in red, his rage filling up his memories with his utter hate for that man who killed Anri. There he is, the person who started this nightmare of mine. Thomas. Naruto's mind yelled in the remainder of the man who caused his happiness and world to shattered. Phantom only tilted his head cutely as he spoke his next words, a bit of a mixture between mischievousness and excitement. Come on, Naruto-kun. He played with the younger man's name like he was his family member, casual and no need for politeness. There was the bell. Naruto's view rushed forward as the sight of Phantom was coming close in mere seconds, despite the yard's distance between them. Yeah. The Avenger shouted, thrusting his right hand with a bloody and chipped katana towards at scratch, that where Phantom was previously at. Naruto's eyes blink as if to correctly register that. He turned slightly to see the man waving sweetly at him, before swing his body and arm to the other side where he missed again. Every time Naruto attacked, it was as if Phantom knew ahead of time. Side, backstep, even eyes closing or barely able to lean back when Naruto's reach just couldn't make it. The lavender-haired man simply hummed and chuckled with each attempt Naruto did to attack him, while the man showed no attempts of his own to try to retaliate back. Amusement faded as he continued to dodge and then spoke, the week-long battle seems to have taken its toll on you. He sadly declared when Naruto went for broke and grabbed a lance while spinning around in hopes an incredible longer range can at least hurt Phantom. To his shame, it didn't matter as the man leaped over him. When Naruto stopped to take a breath, the older man spoke once again, your attacks today are unfocused and weak. At this rate, you're just a pathetic, exhausted beast. A chortled grace from Phantom's last words, then noticing Naruto's anger raises a hand to him, lowering down. It was the gesture known as calm down Naruto, please relax a bit, he said sincerely, but the expression on his face was like a member watching a kid trying not to pout or trying his best not to cry. It was almost a mature family member trying his best to not insult the younger, immature member by laughing. They stood there until just kill him. Yeah, end his life so we can get his hot teacher. Forgot that runt. Phantom eyes lost all jokes and entertainment when he heard the survivors of his little army speak up. A single word was uttered as all were petrified with fear when his eyes showed displeasure at their suggestions. Even to Naruto it was scary to think all of them were this dedicated to his words, that a single glance was all it took to silence them. He regained his smile as it was now an odd look. It was too beautiful to call it a smirk but still cruel to call it a smile. This unique facial expression only grew as he spoke, I'm afraid that even if I wanted to he can't, gentlemen, he chuckled in his usual considering tone. This child is a worthy enemy, he defeated you all despite the numerous allies and experiences you had on him. He shouted, making the rest look down in shame at their failures. However, he's exhausted. His tone was that of an over-exaggerated concern for Naruto's tiredness. The odd look vanishes as a normal smile returns, no needs to join us to cultivate that potential into true power. But also that I want to see how strong he is at his best, this battle. He looked around before shrugging his shoulders on trying to find the best words, was just for fun size. Ahahaha, his short yet whimsical laughter only made Naruto lose his cool. Taking a man's broadsword and jumping towards Phantom, it's not funny. The god slayer took a step back almost like he was phasing out of the way, sweetie, he whispered for once to stun at the young man's rage. But it was returned to his normal sweet smile, really Naruto-kun, it's not really worth it. Revenge for a god who was going to outlive us all. He stated no remorse in his tone or respect for the dead. You should join us and live a life outside of their sinful whims. Naruto stomped on the floor as he spoke, you think I'm that soft in the head? I was doing just fine until you took Anri from me. However, his words did nothing to deter the man's looks, in fact the man's gaze now shows a hint of pity. We just don't understand. Phantom started as he shook his head softly, why would you embrace those monsters instead with us? Besides Angraminu, it doesn't make much sense to me. He said, lifting his bounded arm as if to show Naruto his curiosity. Why them, then over us? It's because so far, people like you are the ones that are evil. Naruto declared, taking out a bow and arrow, dozens of quivers ready and loaded with tons of ammunition. Maybe it's just some are good and some are bad. And you're one of the bad ones. Unlike you, I try to know what others really are before judging them. But that said, Naruto shot arrow after arrow at the man who lifted his hands to create a blue barrier to deflect them. I'll never become someone like you, so you can just kill me instead of convincing me. As all the arrows were shot, Phantom's barrier faded as his hand was still in the air. Perhaps I was too late to save you from the Hyuga's influence. This sad outcome must be only due to their twisted environment on raising you. But I know one day you will accept it, and for that I swear, Naruto, on the lives of the two people who meant the world to me, shall save you from despair. The look of determination showed majestical on his face. A pity that Naruto only found it revolting that his savior was at the same time the man he called the devil. What? Naruto voiced Echo, trying to make sense of his words, only for Phantom to look around the area. And if you did manage to get your revenge? What then? What is the outcome or gain from my death? He pondered as the killer, placing his normal hand on his hip, trying to hear Naruto answer. Why fight for God? It isn't about them or gaining anything. Once more Phantom eyes widened to see Naruto, from what the gods could tell now was crying as the sight vision of Phantom became watery. You took someone I love, burned down my home, and my friends and family are forever gone. Naruto harshly said in a low voice as his sadness was coming out in his words. Using his forearm to wipe the tears, he resumed, it's what I want to do. You wouldn't understand losing someone you love from a man who thinks he is right. Phantom's face was unreadable. A shadow took over his looks as a single glowing yellow orb was coming from his overshadowed features. You have no idea how wrong you are. I'm sorry, Naruto, but it seems you aren't ready to join us, nor understand the weight of the words you just said. I have to give you a small time out of sorts. His raised hand now glowed a demonic red aura. Flames soon spurred into life as Phantom lifted his hand over his shoulders. The fire grew into the size of a fire, with an eerie smile etched into it, yellow flames for cruel-looking eyes and purple fire for a crazed smile. Hell's Terraflame. With that name declared, he simply lopped to where Naruto was, as if passing a ball to him. Dark Faraga. With a small attempt to see if he can stop it, Naruto shot 3 black flame orbs into the bigger only to gasp as he only made it much larger. The flame opened its mouth to devour the young man. And soon a shadowy figure came too. Boom. The sight now was looking at a small control explosion as it soon faded where a woman was on top of Naruto. The gods watching this wonder how is this possible as the person who was walking forward looked down to see a reflection of vision. They saw Phantom, winking as if he knew they were watching him. Continuing his walk, he saw the woman back was totally charred back, no doubt in his mind and to the gods that she was dead. But her hands were what the vision took notice was clutching onto the child. She sacrificed her life to save him, even though the flame wasn't going to kill him. Phantom's voice breathed out sadly, damn fool, didn't realize it before it was too late. Looking down, it was Naruto, knockout, but otherwise unharmed save for a few dark spots of the blast residue. But a chuckle was heard when he saw the chest was definitely burned to a severe burn from his attack. It's over. Kill him. The young man deserves death for his words. Gut him. Phantom watched as these vultures dare hover over his friend's defeated frame. Stop. If any of you so much as touch a hair on his head, I will spend the next few months torturing the idiots who did so. Drip drip drip. A single hand came into his view, having azure blue liquid dripping from between his fingers. It's amazing how he grew in such a year. Even at your weakest, you managed to harm me when so many can't even try. Granted, I was hiding for decades, since their deaths, but Naruto is the only one at such an age to actually wound me. He muttered, slightly happy but at the same time proud. Alright, we're living, we got the death we're looking for, and now this was just icing on the cake. Tell the others to go back into hiding once more. He turns to see the members all nodding before one last look towards the sleeping child. Naruto, next to May will kill you so you can be saved, I swear it. Soon he walked away until his footsteps stopped, reaching a good pace away from the child before a clear crystal appeared before him. Showing his face as he tilted his smiling head at them, I know you're listening, Hermes Apollordimus and the others in your little city. Phantom smiled kindly, so listen, waiting as if letting the stunt take a moment to register his words on how accurate he was. It became something from a horror novel, his face distorted into a mad beast-like smile, his single eye grown white as his red eyes show how crazy it made him. I hate your kind and everything about it. You're disgusting, it reeks, I can barely breathe. Even the flowers, the trees, the earth, the water, the animals, the villages, the cities, the mountains, you infected them all with your existence. But you know what makes me absolutely sick to my core? His face twisted more into madness as the answer came out, as all of you. You dare place yourselves in the center of the universe, every last one of you monsters. Prideful like Loki, malicious like Freya, envious as Apollo, slothful like Soma, deceitful as Hermes, ignorant as Ganesha, wrathful like Kali, and even after all that truth, you still believe you're in the right. The smile turned into a sneering look as he continued, the fact you are the reason to blame us for becoming like you all. Jealousy, hatred, arrogance, betrayal, insolence, deception. Those are what you gave us for letting you in our world. Those are the true nature of gods. It's a sickening thought, even at this moment I feel violently ill just talking about it. A shudder came around his body to show how true his words were from the disgust he held for them. Soon his charming looks rained back in his darkness. You're all hypocritical fakes, every last one of you, and that's why I decided to kill Angraminu. To send a message to prepare for a war that has been long coming. And believe me, not even your so-called children will be spared. He winked one more time as the crystal faded and his eyes glistened. Before one thing, I should mention something. Somian is working for me as a spy in your so-called city of gods. Have fun with that. The group of gods all felt their bodies froze as the ceiling went back to normal. It stopped. Hermes said as the ceiling went back to normal and looked at Naruto, who yawned out loud. The fact that the same usual after effects from the ending of his memory seeing powers. You done? Naruto asked them, was the fight enough to prove my worth? Just the fight, not a slapping frenzy or a princess. Hermes asked as the other gods wonder why he didn't remember the other moments. The young man shook his head. No, I just saw, or rather remembered the battle with Peta. Annoying as it was. He scratches the back of his head before looking at Freya. Did I prove my innocence by not working with scum? Of course, she said almost a bit too sweetly before tilting her head. I apologize to you for my bad judgment. The goddess of the strongest familia offers her sincerest condolences. HMPH. Naruto merely scoffed as he looked away. Thanks for at least keeping an open mind. Hermes looked at the woman for a moment before dramatically sighing, well. Phew, it was a tough day. Once again, thanks for addressing the situation for us. We'll send you constant messages as we can on any updates. He stated as the other gods affreed before smiling at Naruto. Now, Naruto-kun, was it? Do you have time tomorrow? Why do you ask? Naruto looked at the messenger with a quizzical expression. The man gave a wide smile, since he owes Naruto a bit of fun, given his family was with his familia. Why, I'm going to ask you to possibly join my familia. And now the floodgates open. Hey, I want him too. Another god shouted. No, I have dibs on him first. He's mine. No, I'm taking him. Over my dead body. Oh, that's right. That's quite possible right now. Frey watches in enjoyment as the others continue to fight over an adventurer who has already left. She had an eye for another young adventurer, but this one seems to be more interesting. Outside, I'm going to kill him. Naruto panted as he lost his breath easily from him, and Artemis ran before the gods tried to rip him apart. Artemis nodded, I'll help, I already got the shovels we need. Naruto chuckled before looking to see she was indeed telling the truth, maybe. He said as this might be more annoying come tomorrow. They looked at each other before smirking widely as they chuckled at the general hate on Hermes. Come on, I want to eat somewhere. Artemis nodded as she walked beside him, not realizing that she was smiling kindly all the way to their meal and back to the inn her familia were waiting for. Loki's familia base sitting on their throne was a goddess with light red hair and red eyes. She wore a tight blue shirt on her body, thankfully her lack of petite body made the shirt clung to her body perfectly. An odd black top that only covers her arms and neck with a blue hood that was attached to it and black short shorts that clung to her butt, that's at least big compared to her gaiak. Help. Oh, she was a bit miffed. She was going to try to get at that non-familia adventurer due to her familia telling her about it just before she left. Damn it, why the hell does Artemis have him? No matter, I just gotta play it sexy and he'll join me. Still, that man, for the few times of her life, Loki's eyes opened slightly before her smile grew. Ah, now I understand. So he's that hunter. Sorry Hermes, he's my target now. Ishtar's familia base. The woman smiled as she waved her hand to make her vice captain away, although he was just a fake in name. Her true vice captain was getting her lust on with some nice new arrivals. Despite the small god slayer on the loose, it wasn't a total wash. She got something to make her girls get the blood hunter of South. Any adventurer worth their salt would no doubt learn the south of the world, where the worst kind of monster lived and barely anyone lived in that area. I'm going to make you mine whether you like it or not. Ishtar licked her lips seductively. She heard that the hunter of blood bathed in war for a week straight. Imagine the stamina he must have in bed. Apollo's familia base. This boy is so cute, the man said with an utter dark blush on his face, as he already had a painting of Naruto hanging up in his room, along with the others from familias, that either he could not take from or ran away from him. Soon he will take the painting down when he will get the real one in his hands. He wouldn't try to take him away from Artemis, as both she was too strong, even with his vast numbers, given their experience with wargame locations and their lack of numbers being covered by their teamwork and skills. But this poor, sweet child is all alone. Of course, as a kindly and just man, he would take pity and welcome this boy with his big warm arms. People outside his room sighed. Poor dude has it real bad, as the person next to him nodded. Either for Naruto or Apollo, both were going to have it rough for a long time. Take Mikazuchi familia base. A man with black hair and black eyes. His hair is in a style that was common in old Japan. Fake Mikazuchi wears clothes that were simply white robes with a red sash around his waist. He heard someone knocking on his door. "You may come in," he gently said, turning around from his view from the night to see a young woman entering. "Thank you for coming, Lady Hinata." The girl before him was a long-haired woman with almost light lavender-colored eyes, wearing a purple jacket over her body and blue loose pants. "I should be the one thanking you, Take Mikazuchi-sama. You let us in despite having barely anything to offer to you for letting us live here. Even when some of the children join other familias, you allow them to stay with their new homes without." The man smiled. It was fortunate he and his familia were out one day and came across a village of people who lost their home in a single night. "Of course, but I have better news to tell you. Your brother Naruto is alive." Hinata's eyes widen as tears gather around her eyes. Truly," she said as she and Naruto were the closest of friends growing up, despite him living with them from her father taking him in. She always viewed him as family when protecting her and Hanabi from harm. It was something that killed her when the adults wouldn't allow her to check if he was okay or was possibly injured during the fire that happened. Watching her god nod kindly made her finally let loose her tears. Was Oliver, best friend and brother figure, was alive. She had to tell everyone, not just here. Everyone, including the ones who are with different familias. Hermes' familia base. Hermes smiled as he was playing shogi with an old friend. "Well, you were right, both you and Zeus," he said before frowning as he lost another piece. The man playing before him chuckled as his white spiky hair was undone. "Of course, not sure about that, old man. But I do keep tabs on the boy. His father was my best student and like a son to me, though I don't appreciate you making the other gods want him. The girls save for Ishtar and Freya are fine, but the others like Apollo are going to be something of an annoyance for me to watch out for him." Hermes gave a rare frown that he knew his mistake for slight fun was a bad idea. "Sorry, Jiraiya." The man before him was a rather handsome man despite his advanced age, wearing a green kimono for nighttime, considering he just got back from his monthly recon on their spy network. "Any news?" "I just got back, but no, even with the phantom guy you just told me, no one has disappeared from any attacks. In fact, many graves were desecrated from the recent places," the white-haired man said as Hermes' eyes turned into slight anger. "Including the woman I asked to help teach Naruto to fight. So he wants to start a war, huh?" Hermes declared before regaining his smile. "Despite the chaos we gods cause one another, we have the ungodly flaw to care about our survival more than pettiness. Especially when all are affected by this." Jiraiya snorts at that. "Knowing you, that makes a lot of sense. Still, tomorrow is my day off and I should get Haim to also see him. God knows I'm going to shake hands with Kami when I tell her I knew he was alive all this time." Jiraiya sighed wistfully as Hermes comically paled and shook from the frightful yet accurate assumption. Who would have thought that an old man like him could be this scary? Certainly not him. But Naruto. Something was wrong, Naruto kept thinking, something that almost opened up his mind. "Why me?" he answered when he realized Phantom wanted only him. Why does Phantom want to have him with his side? He stood tall and saw his chest from the mirror the room he was staying at, showing his chest as he touched the sunburst scar. That battle a year after Thomas Phantom killed Anri and found Naruto causing them to fight and gave him a scar from showing his potential to him. He went to his bed hoping to awaken to a new day and forgot about this trouble, but unknowingly the scar soon had a tattoo appearing on the spot as it slowly crawled around his body, stopping only a few inches, but if you look closely, it slowly continued to do so centimeter by centimeter. The scar of the man who gave Naruto unholy blessing, the gift of eternity. Chapter end. What if Naruto was summoned in danmachi? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.